Uh, Thank you, everybody, for coming to the October 17th regularly scheduled meeting of the Wareham School Committee. We're recording the meeting on WCTV. Ms. Ruiz is trying to record it. It's gone off and on. Okay. And that said, if you see me futzing with my phone, I'm going to try and record it as well. I have to find the app. Anyone else recording in the? Oh, good. Okay, we have one. They're recording it. Just if you're recording, you have to let the chair know, and she just did. And with that, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Bakayaki, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
I just ask that we have a moment of silence tonight for Roberta Spencer, who is one of my favorite high school teachers at Wareham High School. She was a French teacher. She recently passed away. And I'd also like to include Catherine Heap, who was a teacher at Minor Forest for over 20 years, and also Peggy Hitchcock, who passed away over the summer, and she was a second grade teacher in Wareham for over 30 years. So I'd just like to have a moment of silence for them. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Public comment. Is there anyone here to address the committee? Oh, there we go. Just state your name for the record.
My name is Ian Dargan. Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, my name is Ian Dargan, and I'm a resident in the town for over 40 years. I'm also a taxpayer. What I'd like to share with you tonight is not something you haven't already heard. My daughter came before you just 2 weeks ago regarding school transportation. That very night, at nearly midnight, we received an email from the transportation director that the bus stop change request would not be granted. It was said, among other things, that it would not be convenient to move. What's more important, convenience for the bus driver or the safety of our children? My daughter then filed her concerns with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Just yesterday, she received a copy of the district's response, and that is what I'd like to share with you tonight. In that response, Ms. Fay states that she has communicated with us. That is completely false. We didn't even know who she was until Desi included her in the complaint. In her response, she also notes that my daughter is a member of the policy subcommittee. What does that have to do with our safety concerns? The fact that my daughter was invited to sit on the committee as she's trying to stay an involved parent is now being used against her? She was invited actually after she came before you. Next in the response was the fact that my grandson joins 46 other kindergarten children having to walk 0.19 miles or more to a bus stop. At no point in time has this been our concern. Walking is good for children. But when there are no sidewalks or shoulders to walk on, we teach our children to stay out of the street and use sidewalks and crosswalks. And yet the Wareham Public Schools is sending the message that it is okay to walk in the street. School committee members, we have heard your concerns that you cannot get involved with the day-to-day management of the school system. But you do set policy, and you should abide by your own policies. Your policy, EEA, states twofold. One, it states that anyone living within 1 mile will not get transportation unless sidewalks or walkways are impassable. In your policy, you also state if then one lives further than 2 miles, which my grandson does, then door to door from home or other locations as approved. I want to share with you pictures of my grandson's walk to his bus stop. You can see here that the road is rutted and caving in, and there are tire marks because as two cars pass, it's almost impassable. You can also see, looking backwards, up the street. There are no sidewalks. There are no shoulders for him to walk on. This was a picture that was taken just this morning. You can see that there are boats parked on the side of the road, and here's a large truck passing. Now picture at times 2 cars passing on that road at the same time. Past practice has been, at least for the last 2 years, that the bus stop was moved to students' homes on our street. I have copies of emails, text, and screenshots where the superintendent herself acknowledges the bus stop needs to move. One student stop was moved when she was in 1st grade, and then again when she was in 2nd grade. That family has since moved out of town due to frustration with the school system. The bus stop was a safety issue then, as it is today. For the record, Oak Street runs parallel to India Neck. I am not asking you to add another bus stop. I am asking you to change the bus stop and do the right thing for the safety of my grandson. Not once has the superintendent or transportation director called or asked to meet with us to hear our concerns. Not once has anyone from the school department joined us at the bus stop or on our walk to the bus stop. Ms. Fay states that the bus stop was moved at the grandfather's request on the return home. Let me tell you that he moved from one corner across the street as cars were not seeing the bus flashing lights and were turning the corner onto Minot Ave in front of a bus where my grandson was getting off. That statement from Ms. Fay is misleading as it was moved no more than 30 feet across the road. My grandson has to walk in the street to get to his bus stop. I ask each one of you if you would want that for your child or grandchild. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's publication on transportation addresses safety. This is a safety concern. What will happen when the snow and the ice start accumulating on the side of the road? I invite all of you to join us in front of our house this coming Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. to walk the route with my grandson. Perhaps you will then see for yourself just how unsafe it is for anyone, let alone a 5-year-old who is just 40 inches tall and weighs just 32 pounds. Please do the right thing and honor your policy and past practice. Thank you.
Thank you. At the last when your daughter came before us that other time, I didn't explain it, so I'm going to explain to you right now, and I'm going to ask for some clarification on this. A couple years ago, before I came on the school committee, the policy on public comment was changed from like public participation to public comment, and that's why I didn't say anything back after she had spoken, because I didn't think I was really allowed to per our policy. Now I'd like to respond to you, and I don't. Does anyone mind if we talk to her?
It's not that I would mind, but I think that you set a precedent, and then if there's another person with a different situation who comes to public comment and wants your response, but you don't want to give that response, then you've set a precedent.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with this specific situation. It's just the reason that the policy. So you asked for my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right. I respect that, and I'm gonna have to respect that policy. But I'm gonna try to take you up on your offer and see you there at 7:30 on Monday. I'm going to try. I work, but I'm going to try. Actually, that won't work for me for Monday. Can I do it Tuesday? Okay. All right. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. Good news. Anyone? Good news?
Good news. Good news is that our bus drivers were able to get down Glen Charlie today, and we could run our schools.
Anyone else with good news? All right. And I apologize again. So Ms. Spear is not here tonight, partially due to, well, probably due to the outage, the power outages, and she has several stores to oversee and such, and she's probably still in Hanover right now. So she would be here if she could. Moving on to the report of the student representative.
Hello, everyone. All right,
Hello.
I actually have a couple things today. So yesterday, the PSATs went pretty smoothly. It was held in the gym with cookies and water. That was really nice. I think that actually went really well. Like the setup and the cleanup, like it was like really smooth. It was great. This Saturday, the drama club is doing a craft fair in the high school. There's going to be vendors, and last year there were things like signs and candles that were sold. It was a really good turnout last year. I'm hoping it'll be too. There was also raffles and snacks sold, and all the proceeds go to the drama club. Also, the sports highlight of the week, I think, is the Wareham field hockey team won 3-1 against Seekonk. Also, let's see, we actually have 2 Halloween-themed things coming up. We have Haunted Hallways, October 30th, 4:30 to 6:30 at the Wareham High School. It's a group effort between the high school clubs. It's a great opportunity for a safe and fun trick-or-treat for children. There will be face paint, crafts, light snacks, and refreshments. And also, on Halloween, from 6 to 9 p.m., there's a community fall festival. It's located at the Bridge Church in Onset at 15 Highland Ave. This event includes bouncy houses outside, which is outside, and an international food court. This event also has games inside the church for the children. So those are both great opportunities for the kids at Wareham. I think that's awesome. And coming up in November is the Veterans Day ceremony and lunch at Onset VFW on Monday from 10:30 to 12:30. Key Club will be volunteering there. So if you know anyone that would be interested in that, or you want to go yourself, that'd be really great. Thank you.
Thank you for another awesome report. All right. Minutes of the meeting, October 3rd, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second it.
Any discussion? I'm going to point out on page 2, life in the day of a school nurse. I'm not sure, but I think Miss Yakabuchi's name might be spelled wrong. and then down below, mid-paragraph there, it says there was no additional staff with the 8th grade at the high school this year, and a good ratio for nurse to student is more than 750 kids. I think they meant less than 750 kids, right? Yeah, so I think they said, I think that's what, I hope they said. So with that, maybe with those changes, if I have a motion to amend?
So moved.
Second
All right, all those in favor?
it. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0-0. But now the whole minutes, we can vote on that, please.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0-0. Thank you. On to the Strategic and School Improvement Plan Annual Report.
Good evening. Whoa,
Scared.
a little bit. I hope that the report that you were provided last week was helpful. This night is extremely important and does not happen without a lot of collaboration, reflection, and analysis. Tonight, each school will demonstrate how they did relative to the previous year's goals as indicated on their school improvement plans, and share with you the goals chosen for the 1920 school year. For the purpose of the public, a quick review of the report, basically, just as a understanding for everyone, and also note that the report will be posted online following this presentation so that everyone will have access to it. But the hope with this report is that we're really transparent about what we're trying to do in Wareham Public Schools. We have the vision and the mission. We have an action plan or a theory of action, which is typical in a strategic plan. We have all of the different data sets that we look at. We also look at other data that we have from our PBIS Swiss information on discipline referrals, on suspensions and detentions, and all of that is, we look at nurse visits and counseling visits and various other things that are also not necessarily included. We also use anecdotal data, right? So we talk about what happens at our student support groups and figure out what we need to do to obviously offer every student everything that they need while they attend our schools. So and then the data, of course, is separated out by school. So it starts with the district information, and then it delineates to each school. So we have established a couple of newer items this year. One, our membership, which is the Unit A contract membership, union membership, WEA, chose to join the work of MCIEA. They are an organization challenging current high-stakes tests by instead creating performance-based assessments that are standard-based, relevant, and rigorous. They believe that these tasks have the potential to better measure what our students know and can do. So every school is working on performance-based measures. It's also part of the goal for the new school to have a set of curriculum ready to go for when we enter as a unit, as a whole, pre-K through 4, which is very exciting. And 2, we have also embarked on becoming more emotionally intelligent. Many of us attended the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence this summer and have begun to promote the idea that emotions matter and it is okay to feel. This will continually be discussed throughout the school year as we, too, become better versed in knowing our emotions. With that, the first thing, the leadership team gets together, and the leadership team includes the principals, the assistant principals, department chairs, and a dean actually joined us for our retreat, which is really at the Wareham Middle School Library, okay? It's not really a retreat, I'm just saying. We meet there. And so we all meet together, and the first order of business was to create a charter. So the charter basically is for social emotional well-being at the Wareham Public Schools. And the leadership team was asked, how do you want to feel when you come to these meetings? Or how do you want to feel when you're doing your job every day? So the charter was created as a group and then put together. And then, of course, it was sent out and edited, and suggestions were given. And this was the charter. It says, we, the stakeholders working at the Wareham Public Schools, believe that all members of our school community will be appreciated, impactful, joyful, connected, and balanced in order to continue to offer challenging, engaging, innovative, globally minded educational experiences, providing a competitive advantage for our students, our schools, and our community to create a better world. We will demonstrate appreciation by acknowledging and celebrating efforts and successes, become more impactful by providing timely and constructive feedback, listen actively, foster an environment where teachers could share practices with one another, empower teachers to lead, and encourage innovation. Be joyful at work and provide many opportunities for choice. Become connected by creating opportunities for faculty and staff to connect with one another. We recognize the importance of balancing different aspects of our lives, intellectual, physical, and emotional, and achieve well-being for ourselves and others by recognizing our interdependence with people and the world. We will think before we react, seek to implement strategies that help us recognize, understand, label, express, and regulate our emotions so that we can share our feelings when we feel them. We will be thoughtful and make changes when we have acted in a way that is unproductive or hurtful. Working together as a unified team, safe and supported, we will continue to grow both personally and professionally, becoming our best selves, ready to be a power of example to all of those we serve. So before every meeting, I ask everyone, how do you feel? Right? I try to remember to do that. It's not an easy question to answer sometimes, but we have it's called ruler. We have colors connected to emotions, and we have definitions of those emotions, and I will share those with you at some point during one of our meetings when we have more time. But it's pretty great, and it's changed. I think it's changed the way in which we are responding to one another. It certainly opens the door more and more. So I think I forgot like the second half because I did 2 meetings back to back. They're the same because of the time that people get out of school. So I meet with one group at one time and then the next group at the other time. And I think about halfway through I said, oh no, I forgot the second meeting. So, but I did stop and ask. So we're getting there. So with the charter, it also created a necessity to enhance our vision statement, right? So what we did was we just added Wareham Public Schools believe that all members of our school community should be appreciated, impactful, joyful, connected, and balanced. And the rest is what the statement has been since it's been approved by the school committee in 2016, I believe. All right, next one. So this is, after we completed the charter, we analyzed multiple forms of data and discussed our successes and challenges faced in 2018 and 19. Once that was completed, we began to make some decisions about what goals to address this year. Tonight, each school will address what they did in 2018-19 relative to their goals and present their 19-20 goals to you. We are fortunate to work with such a smart, dedicated, and student-centered group of leaders. I would like to personally thank them for everything they do to make our schools second to none. First up is Minot Forest.
Ready?
The video.
I had talked to the kids about doing acts of kindness. What are some things that we could do to brighten everyone's day? And we all came up with that we thought it was a great idea to put sticky notes on the lockers of students. They would say like, you're a great friend, you're great at football, I'm excited to be your friend. It was the students taking ownership of an idea that one of the students had and they went with it.
You're a great friend, you're smart, funny, cool, and awesome.
They know that they're able to come into my classroom and have a voice, and I'm going to listen to what they're saying. And I think it really helps them to understand that we're all in this together. Training and professional development is key to make sure the teachers have the tools they need, whether it's social, academic, emotional, all of that goes together. Because if the teachers have what they need, then the students have what they need. If a kid doesn't have a strong rapport, we look at them in the classroom and it's a kid that's slumping over the desk and they're like, sit up, sit up, sit up. And maybe they don't have the stamina to sit up and keep reading for the 20 minutes that they're reading during the day. So if we're getting on the ground and we're doing core exercises and we're practicing, tracking our eyes, we're building up the stamina that maybe they can read for, 10 minutes and then 20, and then that's building up throughout the day, and then they're hopefully able to attend to their literacy class and carry it over to science and social studies. I like the training. The training is interesting. It's fun to learn new processes, like the movement piece, adding the movement piece to the reading piece. And so adding in different pieces like that, add another level to it.
that week going to learn about vehicles that were powered by wind, then they were told that they have to create a vehicle that was powered only by their breath. It's different because they're deciding, this is what I know about vehicles and how they're powered, and this is how I think it'll work. They're definitely willing to try a little bit harder because they weren't afraid of failing. We taught a lesson on life cycles of a frog and butterfly. There were a few different ways they could show us that they understood life cycles. And one of the ways was posting a video on Flipgrid. It was great to see them just, the more we used it, the more comfortable they got, the more creative they became. They got to see what they were good at. And we got to see that they had a very clear understanding of life cycles.
I like when you give me choice because it makes me feel good because it's more creative than text. I don't have to do this one sort of thing. I can think of different things to combine with.
So we do have a big say in what programs we want. New and old teachers. The new teachers coming up are fantastic with new novel ideas. I absolutely love it. I'm able to be creative. I'm able to meet the needs of the students that are in front of me at that time. I've never felt it was top down, and it's never not okay. I've never had anyone, any administrator come in my room and say, no, you can't do that. They always come in and say, what a great idea. We didn't think about that.
So the teachers are working with the leadership team, the principal, the assistant principal, the dean. I want my teachers to feel empowered, listened to, respected. They need to be safe in the school. When we're placing students for the following school year, they're helping with the placement. By having a team approach, it really is better overall for the entire school. So the minor core is we keep that developmental piece in mind still because they are still young, but we know that we're preparing them for life's future.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're done. So I just want to say I appreciate the teachers that gave up their time to do the video for the students. It was a wonderful day of videoing last week. I think Mr. Switzer did a great job with this. I want to thank the staff that helped us as we worked through the school improvement plan. You know, we presented it at staff meetings. It's gone through our school council. I appreciate the work and the help of all the department chairs that are here this evening that have helped us, and the leadership team as well. So I love this idea of taking videos and pictures and actually showing you what we have worked on in the past year. So that was kind of a recap of what happened last year. So as we move forward to this school year, we came up with essential questions that are there on the screen for you. And from that, we looked at what goals we want to focus on for the following school year. And we look at data as well when we select these goals. So under scholarship and students and staff voice, we looked at the actions that we felt that we could meet the following goals. So we want to provide and encourage more implementation of peer observations. I have to put the readers on. So for peer observations, as we're doing our walkthroughs, we're seeing some great lessons that teachers are teaching. So we are asking them to then show that to their colleagues. We even do it as a write-up, but we're encouraging teachers to share the things that they are doing. And as I said, great things are happening there. Provide opportunities and encourage teacher participation in decision-making. So we're creating multiple committees. As I said on the video, we're working as a team. The leadership team is working with the staff. And this has really been great on the team building. We've implemented different feedback that we've had on the staff, you know, just for redesigning the discipline forms. We have scheduling committees, placement committees. We're looking at the emotional intelligence and having different stakeholders involved in that as well. Create learning units that provide and encourage opportunities for student voice. And some of these actions can be used in different categories. We're looking at units and research, demonstration of various assessments. The teachers and the student goals have to do with learning units, so their professional and student learning goals that they have developed are focusing in on that. We're including science this year, which I know, I said last time at MCAS that, yeah, with the new generation science standards. When we look at open-ended and self-directed as one of our elements, we create learning units that provide and encourage opportunities for open-ended and inquiry-based learning. We do that on our Fridays. We call them Innovative Fridays. And the learning units have to go along with the student and staff voice bullets as well. So project-based learning, we saw a lot of that, and you saw some of that in the film. Like third grade has been working on Tall Tales, Bill of Rights, the Constitution. It's all with student choice in mind. So we're trying to have the students choose various things.
When you saw that teacher hold up the template of the choice, that was a grid. And so each student is given that grid, and there's 9 ways that they can show their learning. And they keep that grid basically throughout the year. So for each topic, they choose a way they're going to show what they learned, and so they can choose a different way each time. So we're finding kids that take that risk. And one thing that was really invaluable last year when we talked, and I know the department chairs heard this too, is kids taking that risk, saying, "Oh, but I always draw a poster." And then it was like, "Oh, I already did that. Oh, maybe I'll try to do something more oral." And it was like, "Ooh." So the teachers that was the one thing teachers mentioned all year, that they were so excited to see students taking that risk and keep going. So they're really jumping in this year.
Even with our bottle project, some students chose to actually make their character, the Massachusetts character. Some decided to use a PowerPoint to show their research. So they really like the fact that they can be creative and have a say in how they show their learning.
And I'm sorry, can y'all just, introduce yourselves just for the record?
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that.
Oh, sure. I'm Andrea Erickson, Unified Arts Department Chair.
I'm Bonnie LaSorsa, Math Department Chair.
Lisa Brees, Humanities.
Sue Tabor, Science Department Chair.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
Robin Murphy, the assistant principal.
All right. And just for the other people that are going to come up afterwards, I just got word from Mr. White that he can't hear if there's any more videos, he can't hear them. So just if one of you could just turn the microphone, whenever you're doing it, to those speakers, or turn the speaker toward you or something. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Increased participation in the Makerspace Reading Nook. So this is something that has been built up in the library at the middle school. I know Mrs. Breeze worked really hard last year on the various grants to get this space. So we're looking at reading buddies. So we have some elementary classes that will pair up with middle school classes, and we started that last year, and Mrs. Breeze was able to work with Mrs. Snyder on that. They got the ball rolling, so to speak, and it was really great. Teachers go in there for science lessons. It also gives them more space to use. Mr. Filippo is organizing and assisting teachers with lessons to utilize that space, so it's been a focus on trying to increase that as well. And we want to utilize professional development time for peer coaching on open-ended, divergent, inquiry, problem-based learning and assessments. So when we look at the grade 4 team for ELA, they're looking at units and reach. It's a team collaboration. It's part of the goals that they have. Grade 3 is looking at the science. We're sharing literacy practices. The grade 4 teachers, for one of their goals, they're looking at problem solving for math and how they can really solidify that, because they saw that was a need with the data that they had analyzed. When you go to the next slide, for emotional intelligence, through PBIS, we continue weekly recognition of staff members, so twice a week. Once a week, we have 2 staff members that can win the OWL Awards. The leadership team has really made sure that we are acknowledging staff so they feel appreciated, so we're writing out thank yous to them for anything that they're doing to make the school a better place, or just kind things. Increase the use of strategies such as tap in, tap out throughout the school day. Everyone can go through the day and they might just need a break. They might need to run to the ladies' room or the men's room, and they might just need to leave the room for a minute. So they'll call us if they need to tap out, and we'll happily go in and take over for them. If they need a drink of water, we'll make sure we get that as well. As you heard, create and implement a charter using the ruler. So this is a year-long project with our staff. We've started rolling that out. We have done that at Minded as well, as far as how do you want to feel for this year. Minded staff want to feel appreciated, supported, calm, happy, and it was a tie between positive and being respected. So we ask, how can we get there? So staff on their own have come up with having bagel Fridays, knitting on Wednesdays. They do this before school. We're having staff breakfast, so we have our first one next week. Yoga on Thursdays, so after school there's yoga class. And we check in with them at our staff meetings as well. So the next thing we'll introduce to them is called the mood meter, as Dr. Schwamm had referenced earlier, and we'll go through that. We have an implementation team, so it's Mrs. Atwood, it's Mrs. Murphy, myself. We went to the training. We're also going to be doing a committee where we're pulling more staff members in for that. We'll hold special activities throughout the year to encourage team building. So we have bulletin boards that are going up. The ones I mentioned, we do the turkey trot. It'll be our second annual this year that we'll do that. We're making placemats for the Council of Aging. We have inspirational bulletin boards where the staff can go, and if they need to take from the envelopes that are listed for peace, for patients, there may be quotes in there or something that they just need for that particular moment. We also have a color board, so the huge owl poster. So if you just need a minute, you can go take a marker or color pencils and you just start coloring. So it's been great.
I use that daily.
The next one is establishes an environment of student agency. So we hold data and content meetings, and this is the great support that we get from our department chairs. They have data meetings that involve the teachers. We look at the data. We're using it for planning our instruction. The content meetings that we have, we're discussing various strategies. We share best practices. They're planning units. It's a whole team approach. We're supporting teachers with vertically aligning curriculum. So they meet with the grade 3 and 4 ELA teachers, the grade 3 and 4 math teachers, the grade 3 and 4 for science. So we're looking at that vertical alignment, which then helps them as the fourth graders transition into the middle school. Morning meeting, we're looking to incorporate 21st century skills. And, you know, when you look at 21st century skills, there's 12 different components. We're looking at the 4, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity. That, believe it or not, is all being done during morning meeting with all of the students, with the teachers leading that. So we look at, they have a morning message, they have a greeting, they discuss any issues, and we have found that it's built a nice community within the classroom. And when you have a nice community of learners, then we find that that helps with the discipline because we're creating a community of caring for our kids. During collaboration meetings, we'll model technological content, and as I had mentioned, the 21st century skill with their peers. Our teachers are moving towards Gradebook Pro. We do Tech with Terry on Wednesday. So Mr. Phillipo, as part of her position, is meeting with staff members for any technology needs that they have, and that incorporates the media literacy, which is part of the 21st century skills.
And thank goodness for the department chairs and this Edulastic that they're teaching us about, because we're learning a lot of that technology, and I really appreciate the department chairs and their agendas. They really hone in on that, and that was one of our goals that we were looking for this year, is to kind of get those agendas cleaned up and focused, so thank you.
Which is a great lead-in, Mrs. Murphy, to the next one, focus on
Okay.
students. So assisting teachers with focus agendas. So there. Continue to increase the use of flexible grouping in multiple modalities of teaching, learning, and our content areas. We're constantly looking at our literacy groupings, our P1 through P4 groups. We're making sure for math we have more flexible groupings in the classes. Again, focusing on that problem solving with the math teachers. And we want to expand the middle school buddy classes to extend student learning, using more of the makerspace with math and reading buddies. and expand the student ambassador positions in terms of service. So we have the lunch monitor ambassadors, the lost and found, the recess helper, hall helpers, and this year we added media specialists. So they work with Mr. Filippo, and they're creating the media that you'll see in the TV and the cafeteria. So we just selected all of our ambassadors for the first part of the year, and they've already been hard at work. So those are the actions that we feel we can get through in order to complete the various elements and the steps here. Any questions?
Ms. Rossi?
Hi. I think that a lot of it sounds wonderful, everything that you guys are doing. It sounds that everyone's, really kind of working together. My only question is when you're with the team building things that you guys are doing with the staff, is that something that everyone's kind of doing? Like, is it like, are you guys hiring someone? Like, where is the budget for like the breakfast or the yoga instructor coming from? Or is this like voluntarily just, you guys are all just kind of doing it yourselves just to be more like together?
It's all of the staff doing it voluntarily on their own, and they came
awesome.
up with it on their own. So Jackie DeGrace wanted to offer yoga after school on Thursday, so she did. Christina Salazas does knitting, so we have staff members that drop into her classroom at 7:30 in the morning to do knitting. Bagel on Fridays started with 2 teachers, and now it's like, hey, if you want to bring in a bagel or a bunch of bagels, kindly do that. Our staff breakfast, we have throughout the year a list, so people are signing up what they would like to bring. So it's totally voluntary.
That's great.
The idea has taken off, and again, it's great team building.
It's great to hear that everybody's just kind of really picking each other's hobbies and kind of turning it into a moment to really, kind of get to know your coworkers in a way. You spend so much time together that, knowing that you want to spend more time on your own time together is great to hear. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bakayaki?
Hi. The peer observation piece, is that something that's new to Minot?
No.
Okay.
We've had it before, and sometimes for our newer teachers, we like them to observe some veteran teacher classrooms. But as we're doing our walkthroughs, and I think it's difficult for teachers because they do a lesson and they don't want to show off, or they don't want to think that they are better than someone else. But when we see something that's really great, or that the students really grasp, we want them to share that because we're excited to see what's happening in the rooms, and they don't get to see that. So, we'll send a quick email, hey, that was a great lesson that we saw. Would you mind sharing that at the next meeting or with your colleagues at the content meeting? So they're starting to do that as well.
Oh, okay, so it's not something where they're going into a classroom during the instruction?
It could be. It's a variety of different ways.
We offer that. We could kind of say a couple of weeks in advance once I look at the subs and what we have, and I'll say, oh, it looks like we have a good block of time. Is anyone willing to open up their classroom? And then we'll say, does anyone would like to go visit?
Okay.
And so it's slow. We've had a couple that we've started this year, and we're hoping that we'll get some more to partake in it.
Well, I like what was said, like it can go either way. Like you say, a veteran teacher, but also a new teacher might
Yes.
have
Some
an
great
idea that
ideas.
someone didn't think of
Absolutely.
before. Yeah.
We're also opening it up between the middle school and Minot. So
Yeah.
the 4th grade teachers math teachers are focusing on solving word problems. And we have a 5th grade teacher who excels at it. And so they're going to go visit his number story Friday. And then I have some 5th and 6th grade teachers who would want to go seek. Elementary teachers tend to do stations better and centers. And so I have some 5th and 6th grade teachers that also want to go visit the 4th grade teachers and 3rd grade teachers. So it's really cool to all be in the same building to be able to do that.
No, that's really great. No, I said last time you were all here together how great it is, that it goes both ways. Yeah. So you talk about student voice. So I have to admit that when you all first started talking about student voice, I had a narrow vision of what that is, and I'm always amazed at what comes out of it. Really amazed, impressed. So you talk about the different methods that kids can give the information back to you, whether it's a PowerPoint or a video or something written. And you talk about teaching them to be risk takers. So I'm not a risk taker, so I think that's so great. But also, I mean, I think you're not just teaching them to do that in that situation, you're giving them the confidence to do it in another situation, to go talk to someone they wouldn't have talked to before, or ask a question that they wouldn't have asked before. So that's what I got out of it.
And you know what's really amazing is when you look at, if you ever have a chance to come over and see one of our dismissals, and or even the lunch monitors, that we have these children fill out the application to become an ambassador. And then, you know, they're interviewed kind of, and to see these children who, when you went into a class, you might know, you're like, they kind of sit back, but they're out in the hallway, and as kids are walking by, they're so polite, and so, you need to be walking, or, oh, you did a great job cleaning up, here's a leaf, and that's their voice right then, and it's
Right.
just, it's
And
amazing
it's their
to
school,
see
and they're
it,
taking ownership
the
of that.
ownership of it, and it's
Well, that's
just
what I
really
mean.
cool to
when-
see.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you're right. And so my question, and this has to do with, it's not necessarily something you presented on, but the information that we received in our report also included survey data. So I just had a question about parent involvement and engagement. And first of all, how would you rate that at your school? You know, high, low, high, medium, and do you see a correlation to student success?
We welcome parents to volunteer to come in all the time. I think it's difficult for a lot of parents to do that during the day because of their work schedules. But we do have parents that come in, and we do see the excitement from the students when they can have someone's mom or dad come in. You know, we get to Thanksgiving, and Mrs. Cardozo's doing her annual cranberry relish, and they just love working with that and having the various helpers there. So there definitely is a correlation when parents can come in. If it's field trips that they can chaperone on, the students are proud to, you know, have their family there. We've done grandparent things, family literacy nights. So we try to have a balance, not just during the day things, but some things in the evening as well.
Oh, no, I agree. And I understand I understand that people work and they can't come in during the day. But you do give many opportunities for families to be involved in different ways, you know, at night also. I know that. So that's why I ask.
Yeah, we definitely try, because we know it's important. It's a team effort with the families as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, did you have your hand up?
No, I was in my
Okay.
My eyes have been like burning today.
All right. So I'm surprised you didn't go over any of your survey data.
I could, there's a lot there.
Yeah, there is a lot on all of them. Yeah. So what popped out to me with the survey data is that you have some pretty solid numbers there. I think for the parent surveys.
Yes.
They seem pretty happy, but and that's great, because of the outreach you do and such. And I think you do a good job of communicating. And the parents I talk to, you know, they really like you. I think they do. I get a good feeling when I talk to parents about mine at school. But the professional staff survey, it's a whole different story, and I don't know why. I've counted 16 categories, and you went down in 11 of them.
If you also looked at how many staff responded, there was 11 less staff members. So that kind of plays into numbers. And depending on what the categories are. So yes, we looked at the survey data, which is how we chose some of our elements. We also looked at the survey data to implement a lot of these school building things and practices that we're doing this year. And some of the things did go down by only a point or two, and some of the things went up. I know one of the items is collaboration. A few years ago, this was before we came to the middle school, we had an extra period where the teachers could get together and collaborate. We don't have that anymore. So you kind of see a difference when there's a change.
Okay.
Was there one in particular that you?
Well, I can go over a couple, but so you're saying that because you've got less people responding, that kind of justifies?
It affects the numbers here, yes.
Percentage-wise?
This was the actual numbers of no, that was percentage-wise. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, so...
But it does have an effect when you have less number.
So happier people left and less happy people remained?
No, it's just the number of staff members that responded.
Okay.
It's a professional staff survey, so there's a I think I'd like to do the survey differently next year, because we kind of give them the directions and we allow them time to do that. There's questions about, like, who's the leadership team? Was it just Mrs. Murphy? Was it myself? Does it include the department chairs? So they had some questions about that, and some of the answers were reflected on the fact that they weren't really sure what the question was asking.
I didn't go word for word, but is it the same questions for all schools?
It is.
Yeah, so
It
we
is.
couldn't- you
But
couldn't-
for mine, like last year, don't forget, it was different for us, where we did have the department chairs, and some of them work with just grade 4, not grade 3. We're including grade 3 this year. So that's why, for some of these, we made some changes.
All right, so a few I'll bring up. The first one, 2018, the leadership team builds trusting relationships with staff. It was really good last year, 91%, and it fell to 67%. So 2 years ago, 2018 was 91%. 2019, 67%. Why do you think that might be?
I really don't know, because these questions are anonymous, so we don't get the feedback that I'd like to really dive into. However,
Well, when you see a drop like that, you got to have a vibe. You have to know something.
No, we did ask the teachers, and we said, during our first meeting, and some of the teachers said what Mrs. Siemens just said. We weren't sure if that was leadership, was it the district, or was it just the principal and the assistant principal? People, that's what teachers, they were confused. Some said we went on this as a district level, we went on this as a school level. So we don't know. And we didn't ask them.
we also, we made a lot of changes last year.
Yeah.
You know, we moved to
tough.
the new school, we worked with the new literacy groups, we kind of told the teachers how to structure the groups, we gave them the creativity to be flexible with that. So it was a lot of new things that they had, and that takes time to build that trust. And I know that when we do this for the coming year, based on what we've already have going on in our school, you'll definitely see an improvement there.
Okay, jump to number 11. When I received training, the leadership team checks to ensure that their training made a difference and led to the intended outcome. That's consistently read 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Like, why is there no improvement there?
I think because we're not, like, surveying them and specifically asking them. So when they have their literacy training, like for the P1 and the P4 groups, we see that it's working in the class, but I don't think we clearly ask them about that. I think it's just the way the question was worded, to be honest with you.
Can I speak to that question?
Sure.
Actually, that question does poorly every year in every school.
Okay.
So we're thinking about how that question is structured, because we're not quite sure that the intent of the question and how it's being answered somehow that question is not communicating what we're trying to receive, or we're not getting at the crux of it. So we're looking at that. We've looked at that question a couple of years in a row,
Right.
and it's consistent in every single school. And we do some fabulous training, as you can see. I mean, the list is endless, right, about all of the training that's provided. So I think we just need to relook at the question and figure out what is it that they're actually answering when they're answering that question, and then figure it from there. So.
Okay. Jump down to 17. Leadership team shares effective teaching strategies that have been used in other grades/schools to improve instruction and planned intervention. That one, 2018 was 88, pretty good. 62. What happened there?
Again, just what Mrs. Siemens just said. This one, when I saw this, I was like, I don't understand this. Because we just implemented the literacy blocks.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
kind of said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is coming from research from other schools. It's showing an improvement. We're seeing it at Deacon's improvement. I'm not sure where the disconnect is, because that is something we've worked on for a year and a half, and that is we've looked at effective teaching strategies and we've brought them to our teachers, and we've had the training, and they've been implementing it, and they're seeing improvement.
Yeah.
And they definitely saw improvement when they saw the end of last year's scores. So I don't know what was happening with this question, because this one totally blew me out of the water when I
Yeah.
looked at it. I was like,
Yeah,
What? I'm really confused.
So, and Mr. Flaherty, when we look at these things, we take it very seriously, obviously. So that's why we are increasing more of the peer observations that we want to do. We're asking the teachers, because when it says the leadership team shares effective teaching, when we're going into the classrooms and we're seeing great things, we felt that was our role to share that with the staff as well. So we're asking them, can you please share that with your colleagues? So we felt that was more of the fact that we didn't do that in the past. We didn't ask them to come out and share. So we kind of changed that for this year.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just so now you know, as you know, the budget for next year is around the corner. The whole kickoff of that thing. What do you think is really most important for us to do as a school committee to help you with your school improvement plan?
Give me what I asked for.
No, I know, but I mean, just, and I try.
I just summed it up,
try.
you know.
Yeah. No, we try. But just based on this though, on your improvement plan, like what do you think would be a big priority? Just to kind of like a teaser for the meeting, I guess.
So we definitely have to look at staffing, of the staff that retires, replacing them, what additional positions I may need. I have a big bubble coming up from grade 2. I have 8 sections right now. They have 9 sections. So I have to think about class size.
And if we were going to get another teacher for you for another class, what? I see no. There's nowhere to put them, right? Yeah. So that's the catch-22.
We have a plan.
You have a plan. Okay, good.
We'll triple up even more, but
Okay.
we will have the space that we need.
Okay. And now, if anyone from the school committee has any more questions for you guys, could we just ask you?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Oh, Ms. Rossi.
In regards to some of those questions on the surveys where you felt that maybe people were not interpreting it correctly, over the past 4 years that are listed, on those questions, is there a way, even though it's anonymous, to have a feedback section where you're asking for specific examples so that you can figure out exactly what may or may not be being interpreted correctly? And if in fact that is the case, or if that is just how that they feel, if they feel like they're getting great training, but maybe they feel like they're not getting great follow-up, is how I'm reading that question. So not saying that it's obviously all the way across the board, but enough that it's in the red for the last 4 years of surveys. So is there a way to add a section that won't allow them to move on unless they have some sort of, 5-word at least, like they have the minimum characters to give you a more elaborate answer so that you can get more accurate feedback?
Do we have the comment sections? I know we
do have the
adapted
But
this.
to have it so that they don't, a lot of people are going to skip it. If it's a comment section, that's optional, is what I'm
Right.
saying. If you make it so that they have to populate something so that you
Yep,
can get
that
a
would
clear
definitely help
understanding.
us. I think we also want to kind of go over the questions ahead of time. And even when, like Mrs. Murphy and I prepare for our presentation this evening, we talk about ideas and what we do, and she'll think of something I didn't think of. So I think if we kind of do that pre-work for them, and then we let them go and answer truthfully on their own, I think sometimes that helps as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? No. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys can actually stay where you are, because the middle school is up next.
Let me turn.
Can you do introductions before you begin?
Yes,
Say
please.
something and then start the movie? Thanks.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I'm Tracy Cote, building principal.
Sue Tabor, Science Department Chair.
Sandy Pont, assistant principal.
Dan LaFavor, assistant principal.
Lisa Brees, Humanities.
Bonnie LaSorsa, Math.
Andrea Erickson, Unified Arts.
And Catherine Frayne is special education, and she would be here, except she's at a graduate class tonight, and she missed the last Thursday for the last meeting where she attended. So she's at school, which is a wonderful thing.
Awesome.
I've never worked in a district, and I've worked in a couple, where I felt more valued and more appreciated as a teacher and as a human being. It makes my teaching so much better because I'm happy and I feel supported. I can support the students.
It makes me feel really good that we work so hard and we put so much effort into what we do, and just to be recognized for doing these things, it feels really good to know that your hard work doesn't go to waste, it's seen.
Our goals last year was really to empower our staff and to empower our students, and to give staff voice, to give students voice, and also parents, that they feel confident and comfortable in the school that they're sending their children to. It really changed our culture. It was just a beginning for us, and we're continuing that into this year.
Our goal as teachers is to allow students to choose how they demonstrate what they've learned, to make them feel more valued, to make them more proud of what they do, and to best demonstrate their learning.
So Math Choice Boards, basically you get this whole board with a bunch of different projects that you can do, and each project is worth a certain amount of points. So it's not just what the teacher thinks best for us, but something that will help us learn better.
Obviously, everyone learns differently, and it feels good to have that option of what to do. Maybe you more prefer just writing it out and doing it, or maybe you prefer making something more visual. We have options where you can create a game board, and you have to make a whole working game, and the people can actually play it. So it's focused on how you want to learn and what you want that experience to be.
I work with fantastic educators who know their students and they know their trade. So when we look at a discrepancy between our data and the state data, and we see where our students are struggling, we put it at the teachers. We give them the power to say, hey, I have this idea, let's try this. And we try it. We're willing to try anything. And then we work together to put it into action, see how the students receive it. It's not top down in this school. It's student driven. It's coming right from the students, what we're seeing in our classrooms, to the teachers, back to the departments, and then higher up, where we continue to share this information and see if it works. And if it works, great, we build on it. And if not, we tweak it a little bit or try something else.
So a lot of our students that we have different behavioral needs, so we kind of try to accommodate and regulate and see how they're doing. We had a staff in-service day, and what we did is we kind of said we have an organizer that they can use for a narrative, but we want to make it a little bit more user-friendly so it can be more friendly for all of our students. I've seen a lot of students that they feel more confident, and a lot of student growth as well.
I get frustrated a lot, and it's just hard for me. I started into a TLC program. I actually like it a lot because I'm learning more, and I actually have straight A's.
We're trying to remediate things that are challenges to us, and we're really trying to focus on the positive with our students and our staff, because we do have a great school. We have great children, we have great kids and adults, and that's what we're really trying to focus on. Thank you. So that was just a little glimpse into our school improvement plan and what we did last year. When we move forward to this year, we spend a lot of time, so we do our retreat, and we kept a lot of data last year because we felt a little blindsided at our retreat the summer before. So we wanted to be very organized this year. So we had a lot of evidence that I think was put into the report that you received that we collected all year, and we were all part of collecting that evidence, all of the teachers, the staff. And so for this year, we went in feeling confident about what we really needed to work on for our school improvement. And then we involve the whole staff, so it just starts in that summer. And then we involve our whole staff in department chair meetings and small groups. Staff can make suggestions or tweaks or say, I don't really understand what this means. How can we make it meaningful to us? Because we want this school improvement plan to be meaningful, to be our guide. And then I met with my school council, who I want to say thank you to twice already this school year, to really focus in on this and the data that we received last year, to make sure that we're hearing the voice of the parents and the students in the school improvement plan that we've developed here. We did choose 2 essential questions for our school improvement plan, and the first one focuses on emotional intelligence that you've heard about. 4 staff members from my building received the ruler training at Yale this summer. And we're slowly integrating that into our staff, and then hopefully with our students. So you'll see emotional intelligence is a big part of our plan for the year. The second question really focuses on what we believe will bring our students the best success, and that's student-centered classrooms. And now, this is what we hope to achieve in our school improvement plan for this year.
So I have the first slide, student and staff voice. So our first goal focuses on student and staff voice because it's important in our plan and our philosophy as a school that these voices are the core of what we do. In our plans, students and staff have numerous opportunities to own their own learning experiences that we offer. Our goal here builds on successes we've had with this goal last year. We plan to continue to revise and develop curriculum units that increase student voice and choice. We will also continue to provide opportunities for teachers to showcase and model lessons in department meetings and colleagues' classes. And new to the goal this year, we've added the opportunity for students to meaningfully and purposefully reflect on their learning experiences and choices provided. As you will see, a lot of what we're going to present here is a continuum of our successes last year, and our goals are purposely all interconnected and designed to support each other.
In alignment with the district goal to build on our emotional intelligence, we will create an environment of belonging for our staff and students. We want Wareham Middle School to be a place where everyone feels safe, valued, and competent. 4 of us, as Ms. Cote said, attended the ruler training at Yale this summer, and will introduce the elements from this training to staff throughout the year. Our leadership team will create its own charter to use as a model for staff to create their own charter in the future. And we also will utilize a tool called the Mood Meter, as well as several other things from Ruler, tools that will promote a discussion surrounding emotional well-being.
We will continue to provide support, opportunities, and information for staff to intentionally build relationships with students. We will continue to teach staff the strategies for de-escalating situations and resolving conflict, and also continue to make connections and create bridges with our existing PBIS initiatives that we have in place.
Under the key of establishing an environment of student agency, we're continuing to improve and inflate our PBIS strategies. Our PBIS leader team of teachers has grown in number. We are awarding students oars. As Vikings, we all need oars to move our boat forward on a daily basis based on our 3 core values. We also have an oar board for teachers to nominate and recognize each other's attributes, helps in the staff room, and it's great when you go in there and you see, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that helped someone. We have a reverse referral system that we are continuing with, where one of the administrators calls home on a student to their parents and shares something great that they've done. I was actually standing in the hallway the other day when an administrator said, oh, I've got 16 calls to make today, and it was a Friday afternoon. That's a great thing. We've been able to add 2 new data packages to be able to gain individual data on students, to learn their weaknesses or their strengths, and we're using our Viking blog as an intervention period, or a creative writing, or an advanced literacy period, or a science and global challenge class, and a new global art class, to be able to find their weaknesses and strengths and build on them, so that we're not just always working with, those that need. We're moving that tool in both directions based on the data that we've been able to gain as we've already started using both of our new software packages to help us move forward.
So our goal is always to focus on our students, and we're doing that in a number of different ways. We are continuing to develop and refine our curriculum units using the IB Middle Years Program template specifically for Wareham Public Schools, and that is really helping us to focus our teaching on supporting our students' learning, sharing, and their reflection. It looks different in different subject areas. The two young girls that talked about math choice boards, that's something that's continuing. You're seeing it now in and more classes. And I can assure you that not everyone liked those math choice boards. We picked the two that really liked them. But that was an important piece to continue and to grow. The other thing that our curriculum units are doing, and Dr. Schwam referenced it earlier, is we're looking at performance assessments as a way to measure student growth, not on a paper and pencil test, to allow them the choice and to actually apply those skills. Our Viking block, and Ms. Tabor mentioned this, so our Viking block is our intervention block, and we're using it in a number of ways. We use it to both accelerate and do remediation in math and English. We're using it to address global challenges in social studies and science. And we are using it in a social responsibility class to help those students that are struggling in school, not only academically, but to become better students.
And we would like to ensure that our students and staff continue to acquire 21st century skills such as collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and social and emotional awareness. We feel that we're on the right path and would like to build on the successes from last year. This year, our students will showcase their talents and achievements in the Science and Engineering Fair, a fall and spring art show, and the drama production of The Little Mermaid, which includes 70 of our students. Last year, 6th and 7th grade band was added into the school day, and this year, 5th grade band was added as well. We currently have 82 students enrolled in band, 45 in chorus. Yeah. I agree, wholeheartedly.
How many was that again?
We have 82 in band, 45 in chorus, and 15 in the brand-new guitar club that started today.
Do you have enough instruments?
70 in drama.
We have enough instruments. We don't have enough instruments. It's a constant struggle with the instruments, definitely.
We'll drive anywhere to get them.
And so the band and chorus will perform in 2 in-school concerts for their peers and 3 concerts outside of school for the community. The Unified Arts Department teaches every student in the building each day, so we're implementing a series of lessons to support our students' social and emotional intelligence with a focus on communication, social awareness, and finding their purpose. The guidance counselors are also starting to form anxiety social groups by grade level. And in an effort to keep students in the learning environment, counselors will also be spending more time supporting students inside the classrooms instead of taking them out.
Nice job.
You're all done with the presentation?
Good,
All right.
yes.
All right, thank you very much. Really enjoyed the videos, both videos. I think I want to start on this one. Just all right, so I'm going to focus a bit on the surveys, and it's kind of the opposite I see from like mine. Whereas your staff seem really happy, but not so much with the parents, and I'll get to that. But my God, out of 19 categories, they all went up. I mean, all of them. That's amazing, and some of them very much so. So number 6. The leadership team listens carefully to what the students have to say about their leadership and implements changes based on their feedback. And that went up from 2018 of 67 to 93. And that gets back to what was on that video with how student-driven it is. It's what it shows. Moving down, this one I love. Number 9, when needed, the leadership team supports me in developing skills to manage disruptive behavior in the classroom. Again, 65% in 2018 and 93 in 2019. That's incredible. Now, in 2018, that was when you were interim, correct?
No.
Oh, that was.
No, that was last year.
It was last year, and then that.
No, she was not.
Okay, I get it mixed up.
So 2019 is June 2019.
June 2019.
Yeah, so June 2018 was Dr. Stedman.
Okay, all right. I was going to say because it made quite a jump. I mean, before that, it went from 2017 at 44 to 67. That was quite, and then it just keeps going. It's just great. And then, but now when we get to parents, it's a mixed bag and quite a lot of it's going down. What do you think's going on there?
I'm not sure. We're holding hard on non-negotiables. I'm not making everyone happy, Mike, but
That's kind of what I thought. That's what I kind of inferred from it.
I love to get the parent feedback.
Yeah.
And typically parents that respond to surveys are unhappy parents.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but it's not my job to make people happy, but it is my job to teach children and make it focused on them. So that's what our team is focusing on. It's on the students.
What a great quote. Yeah. Yeah. So interestingly, back to staff, your numbers went down from 2017-18 year, the number of respondents, from 59 to 42. So your number of respondents went down, quite a bit, but your survey numbers went up. So that's why I don't kind of buy, the whole notion of when the numbers go down, everything else goes down. It's just a percentage. So this is great for the staff side, and I can kind of understand what you're saying. I think about on the parent end too.
I definitely want to hear their concerns, but my main priority is our students and making it so that the students are growing and learning.
Excellent. Ms. Rossi.
I don't so much have it's sort of a question with a question,
Yes.
but back to Ms. Erickson with the talk about having band and chorus now during the school day is huge, because I know a lot of parents have issues with kids not being able to stay after school, or back when my son was at Minot, band was before school. And, they had great numbers and things like that. But I think that music education is such a huge, important part. Like my music teacher just passed. I had the same music teacher from 4th grade till I graduated from high school. And they were probably 2 of the most impactful teachers I ever had in my life. I'm not good at math, but I was better at math because of music and counting and things like that. So I love that it's now being done in school. And is there a way, can we put out there, are people looking we accept donated instruments, or is there something that we can put out there, because so many kids are interested, that we can reach out to the community and see if there's something that they can, give to the schools if possible? Has that been done, or is that something we can help you do?
Yes, it's definitely been done. Mrs. Francesi just got donor shoes, and she's always putting things out there. We've got a lot of donated instruments, but we'll always take more.
Well, is there anything specific that you guys are in need of more than others? Like, do you have way too many of one thing and not enough of another? Just because like I said, I was
tell you right here.
I was in our music programs from forever, so it's important to me.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Francesi. I'm the music and band director here. We take anything and everything. And recently, we just got a Donors Choose project and 2 brand new bell kits for our students. So the real need has been for percussion instruments. But most of our students that are having a hard time getting a hold of their own instruments play woodwind or brass instruments, so we're always looking for trumpets, clarinets, flutes, saxophones. Most of them I can repair in the school, unless it's really, really bad, in which case I've taken instruments and made Mr. Francesi bring them to his music store, and paid out of pocket to get those repaired for our students. But those are really the instruments that we're looking for, and I would love to do an instrument drive to see what we can get from the community members.
And would you be looking for, I know a lot of those things, like when I remember I was a percussion player, but I remember the reed people, they constantly, that was one thing parents had to buy out of pocket. So is that something that if they do play a reed instrument, you'd be they would pick that up? Or are you looking for donations for stuff like that for them, for certain
I'd love to
instruments
start a
too?
reed store, and where we would, sorry, surprise, where we would purchase the reeds and then the parents or guardians could buy it from us at cost. So that it eliminates having to get to the music store for them. And I try to provide reeds for the students where I know income is an issue. But yes, read anything. I will take anything and everything.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Becchiocchi, did you have anything?
Yes, I did, actually. So I guess I'll start with assessment options that you talked about again. I love the math board idea. But I guess my question is for Dr. Schwam. So is that a district-wide initiative or?
The assessments?
Yes.
Yes, it's been something we've been working on since 2016, 17 with the units. And we're really focusing on finding ways for kids to demonstrate what they know and giving them say in it. Because if they have a choice, then the learning becomes theirs. And so we're working tirelessly. We have, 150 units right now that have been collected from K through 12. And now we're looking more closely at them. What do they look like? What do they offer? Are we reaching kids? Do you know what I'm saying? Are we actually giving choice? So choice is extremely important because there are many ways you can show what you know. So we're trying to bust through the old thinking around it.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Brees, you talked about peer observation. So tell me what that looks like at the middle school.
So it looks a lot like, well, we've done it for a few years in our department meetings. So we do have every content meeting every month. We ask 3 teachers to share like a 5-minute mini lesson with the department, focusing on whatever our goal is, student voice, choice, or agency. But we also, when we do see something in the class, we invite other teachers. So if I present something, like I've been doing Socratic seminars in my classes, and so other teachers are a little bit anxious about doing that because that's what they see in the high school, and so they ask to come see me. So I let them know when I'm doing it, and Mrs. Pont works out sub-coverage, or the teachers in the middle school come during their prep to see other teachers do stuff frequently. If I'm available and I can help out, or the other department heads, we help each other out. So, 10 minutes peeking in somebody else's room, 5 minutes and seeing this in action is helpful.
And what we've noticed at the middle school is some of our special ed teachers are our best teachers in the building. They've really learned techniques to work with all students. So when they're doing a small group lesson, and they've been very successful with their students. Regular ed students are like, well, how are you doing that? Can you show me how you're doing that? Especially some of our students, especially when they get up into 7th grade, can use a calculator for some of the performance that they choose. So special ed teachers are great at teaching students how to use their calculator effectively. And so we've seen a lot of special ed and regular ed integration in the last couple of years.
That's really great.
And then
Thank you.
there's one more thing. I never talk this much. But we also feel really comfortable with each other. So teachers welcome each other into their classes. And I've been invited into a class this month to come and work on a type of writing in somebody else's classroom. So it goes that way too.
Okay. Well, that kind of goes into another, I asked about surveys and parent engagement. And so at the middle school, it's obvious that there's been a shift in climate, an awesome shift in climate. But it doesn't, like Mike said, it doesn't necessarily get reflected in the parent piece. And I get everything that you're saying. But have you seen an increase in parent engagement?
Unfortunately, no. So many of our children don't want their parents in the building. By the time they reach middle school, they feel like they're old enough and they don't need to see you. We do have many, actually, grandparents that have come throughout the years, and they just continue to come, and we don't even have some of their children anymore. So we welcome parent to come in. When we hold things at night, we're in competition with the youth groups that are happening, and that seems to take a precedence, over coming to school. We did have
You
a
mean
great
like sports and things?
Yes. We did have a great turnout to our open house this year. And we do offer different events throughout the year that we post on Facebook and send notices home. And I'm sending weekly newsletters home to parents to keep them informed in hopes that they'll see upcoming things and
That's all you can do. Really.
So,
well, no, and I know that you have
Yeah.
many of. I mean, I've enjoyed the drama production and the art show.
Yes.
And
We
lots of
typically
things that
get
you do.
great responses to those type of things, but we have held like math nights and things like that they're not as excited to come to. So we're trying to be creative in how we're inviting parents in and sharing opportunities with them. So.
Well, I want them to know.
Yes.
You know what everyone else knows. So yeah. And I love the idea about the calls home, the positive calls home. You don't
Yes.
often hear about that. And thank you for explaining what oars were.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was. So
We
thank
have
you.
a very big Viking ship in the hallway and a bulletin board, and the kids actually, when you say, oh, I gave you an oar, you give it to them, and they put it up there, so it's not like, oh, hey, what did I do?
Right.
They know what that behavior was, and that you recognized it, and that adds to that, relationship building also. It has kind of lots of pieces to it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So before you leave, if anyone has any questions, they can just call you or send an email, or that's okay? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to invite the Wareham High School up. Scott, could you have everyone introduce themselves before the movie?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's on the agenda.
I know,
You
but,
want me to post the agenda?
well, I wrote it. I was just hoping.
So I'll have everyone go around and introduce themselves. This is the administrative team at the high school, and I'm Scott Palladino, the principal. Kim Kavicki cannot be here tonight because she is at a NIAS visit at Apponequet High School, and Mike Murray has a family illness that he's dealing with, so they send their apologies. They would have loved to have been here. So we'll start. Our newest member.
Mike Janicki, Guidance Director.
Brent Reuter, Science, Technology, and Wellness.
Andrea Cannon, Assistant Principal of Special Ed.
Michelle Medina, Math and Foreign Language.
Amy Dion, Business Leadership in the Arts Department.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us. And we're blessed to have such a great administrative team. And it's really clicked, and Mike's jumped in, as I mentioned, this year, and it's been a great fit. And we're very blessed. But before we get started, I just want to kind of echo what my colleagues have already said. This is a presentation based on input from the students, the staff, obviously the administrative team, school council, student advisory council, and as has been mentioned, we have utilized every survey you can imagine, even ones that you may not see in front of you, to create this document here tonight. So I believe we're going to get started with the video, and I think you're going to enjoy it.
We're trying to go away from traditional instruction that's teacher-driven, teacher-centered, and move away to more student-centered instruction. When students are engaged, they're excited about the process. So we have an opportunity to shift the pendulum a little bit and make it more student-driven instruction, and the buy-in will be there.
So we have a lot of choice in what we do. That kind of opened me up to like the idea of like not having complete guideline with like everything I'm doing, which like is what we're taught a lot as we go in through school, is like you have to do everything exactly as I say or like you're gonna get a bad grade. And so I think that with IB it's really interesting because it completely flips that idea and gives you a lot of freedom and like choice to kind of talk about what you want and do what you want.
We spend a lot of time training our staff. We had several teachers involved in MYP, IB, AP training, and then there's a lot of other trainings that occur during the school year that we're able to send our staff to. So the idea is to maintain the teacher engagement in their curriculum, and I think it excites teachers as well. They get excited when they come back for the training.
I try to get out and see as many classes as I can. I have an open door policy in my classroom, so anytime someone wants to come observe me, because I look at it as an opportunity for me to get validation of what's working and then also maybe some ideas and suggestions. So last year I had the opportunity to observe the art teacher. And one would say, well, why does the business guy go see the art teacher? Well, the art teacher was able to kind of show me and demonstrate how she's able to put people into groups and keep the content flowing, but in a less controlled environment. That's something that I was struggling with, so I was able to learn that from another peer.
This past year was our second year where we had site-based management groups involved in different areas, and a lot of the direction of the school was derived from these meetings. The teachers are broken up into areas of their interests, and whether it be student culture, staff culture, there's a lot of different opportunities for them to get involved. We had students involved in these meetings on occasion, and it really helped to drive decision-making of the administrative team, and also, in the end, was a better product for the students.
This is a really open-minded school, and it's really great because it helps me learn. The teachers and the students, they do a lot to move forward with how you think. When teachers give me choice, it gives me more incentive to do my work, and it makes me actually interested in what I'm doing.
They're doing the experiment themselves, and then they need to creatively come up with their own experiment to try to answer the question of what they're observing.
It's really nice when they give us a chance to be creative in our own way. You just get to focus on like what really interests you more.
When the student has a choice, there's a lot more ownership. So when they have that ownership, there's a little more of an investment, and as a result, we see a better product. Do what's best for the students.
It's my favorite line. So I think that's a nice dovetail into the essential question and the student voice. And I just want to thank Brian Switzer, who does an amazing job on those videos. We're blessed to have him coming in, and it's just, I think it brings it to a whole nother level when you have a teacher behind the camera. He gets it and just does a wonderful job, and he just runs off and he's on his own. I never know where he is, but he does a great job. So we have the essential question, and then I'll move into kind of an update of where we're at as far as 2018 and 2019, and it was I think it was a great year for the high school. It was the first year we had 8th grade in the high school, and as you know, I'm ecstatic to have the 8th graders in the high school, and so if we can go on to the next one, we'll go through and I guess we'll go on to. Well, before we do that, I'll just go through last year and just kind of give you an update of some of the accomplishments, and the student voice, as you've heard tonight, is a huge piece. And in the student voice, there's so many opportunities, as in all of our schools, for students to have a voice. And I just kind of elaborated on a few areas: Student Advisory Council, school committee. We have Emily, who's a wonderful student member of the school committee. IB, where the students have opportunities to be involved in not only their internal assessments, but choices that they make. And students also have a path in their academic electives and advanced courses. So there's a lot of opportunities for the student voice, and I think you heard some of that in the video. And in regards to pedagogy and learning, we've got a ton of teachers that use the Google Classroom platform. That's gone really well for us. And it was great to hear Joe talk about the peer observations that are going on. And it's awesome to hear it's going on in the other schools as well, because I think that's the best PD you can have is in your building. And distributive leadership, we talked about the site-based management, and just establishing an environment of agency. So many opportunities for travel and global education, community service, and so that kind of gives you a little taste of what we accomplished last year. So we're going to move on into this year, and Mike's going to start us off with the student and staff voice.
So similar to what we've heard all along all night, a perfect example of students demonstrating content and assessment. You saw the car working, you saw the culinary class. Well, when that car moves on itself, I don't think there's a better test when it starts moving by itself. You know, when the clam chowder is lumpy or smooth and you get a smile on the face, you know, that's a pretty good assessment of how the student did in that class. Which is also, those are two solid examples of student choice in options for their own education and starting to think about career pathways, college ventures, different opportunities post-graduation. Teachers have a voice also. We had an opportunity last 2 Fridays ago during our professional development day to start working on some of that, the MYP development where teachers, faculties work together collaboratively to develop an assessment and curriculum lesson plans. We talked about a little bit about site-based management also, where teachers have a voice in developing ideas and concepts for not only faculty concerns and issues, but concerns and issues they may have for students and student recognition. We're going to be starting a faculty meeting with student input regarding the overall class schedule, thinking about, is this the best class option for us? Is there different opportunities to develop curriculum in different ways? We, as you know, will be going through our NEASC assessment fairly soon. The pre-conference will be coming up in, I believe that's being scheduled, so that's coming up in the next few weeks, months maybe, and then we'll be starting our self-assessment in the spring, and then decennial 2 years will be coming up.
Right. And we'll move on to the next slide, Brent.
In terms of scholarship for both students and staff, continuing with that theme, in looking at both depth and breadth and open-ended and self-directed teaching and learning, it's important to note that the world is so big and varied, and all the information that students have at their fingertips means that we had better be teaching in an open-ended and self-directed way, and allowing students some choice and voice in how deep they go or aspects of the curriculum that they want to learn more about. And that's something we've been pushing across all departments. In terms of breadth and depth, some highlights coming this year is the collaborative development with all departments, and our wonderful Media Center Director, Jess Linehan, starting a makerspace in the Media Center, similar to what the middle school is doing. It's just kind of where it belongs as opposed to cordoned off in one corner of the building. Having that be an open space for people. And it truly has been a collaborative input across departments. Another point that you've heard from some of my colleagues is deepening and extending the MYP curriculum. Just as, I think 2 Fridays ago, we had an all-day PD where staff were diving into that and taking their lumps in the beginning and then learning to fly with it, by the afternoon. And it's important to note also that we've extended that in many departments beyond grade 10 into 11 and 12, trying to infuse that language in our classes. And you'll hear again and again, as Mike had said, and others will, about student agency, voice, and choice. And some highlights there with the support of Dr. Shaver-Hood, Project Lead the Way, and faculty who are just interested in everything. We've developed some new courses, electric automotive systems, game design, computer science. You've seen that before on school committee, but we're in year 2 in earnest of that, and we have 85 students that will be taking computer science in some form this year, spanning from grade 8 through 12, which is wonderful to see that growing. And with that, I'll pass it along.
To Andrea.
So for pedagogy and learning, again, the middle years training was completed, and so we're going to be rolling out that in the 2021 year. We're focusing a lot, you'll see in the surveys, so we're focusing a lot on exemplars of student work. So we're trying to calibrate our scoring and also show different exemplars so that by department, so that we can look at those. And then also we talked about at the last school committee meeting, we now have access to the English open responses, so we'll be focusing a lot on those in the English department. We started peer observations last year as just an initial rollout, so we're trying to focus a lot more in depth on peer observations this year. And then emotional intelligence, like you heard from the other schools, we're also implementing the ruler principles. We have a trauma training that's going to occur in October.
Next week. Yeah.
We're working a lot on restorative practices, and our deans have come up with a lot of different ideas for restorative practices tied into disciplinary concerns to try to help curb behavior and change student behavior. And we have a student support council, so this year we have new forms for the teachers to fill out so that they can identify struggling students right away before we identify them by grades or behavior and different things like that.
Amy?
In establishing an environment of student agency, we look to maintain the high level of the dual enrollment programs. We have 30+ enrolled in the BSU dual enrollment program, and the 8th grade dual enrollment program has expanded from one choice of taking all 4 classes, English, history, math, and science, to having the choice between 2 other pathways where they can have science and math, or English and history. And then within the realm of authentic assessments, I'm going to just elaborate further on the training we had, the in-service on the 4th, where teachers got together to create performance assessments using the MYP GRASP model. That GRASP model stands for goals, roles, audience, situation, product or performance, and standards for success. Using that model, teachers started to frame their learning in a way that invites students to choose the path in which they are assessed on the standards for success.
Michelle?
And then for building trust, again, we have peer observation that was already touched on that we're continuing. And then teachers have autonomy in implementing innovative instructional strategies. So our teachers are in every department are using 1,000 different ways of teaching our students, especially with the Chromebooks and math. We literally use at least 10 different programs to help supplement depending on the teacher. And so we're constantly using different strategies to help our students succeed. And then for the focus on students, we are continuing implementing the IB learner profile into what we do. And again, documenting and expanding authentic assessments, which was just touched on. And then site-based management groups, we're continuing. This year, a couple of the groups changed. So we have 5 groups this year, and the staff was able to, they got a survey and they were able to pick which group they wanted to be in. So we didn't just choose that for them. So the options were improving staff culture, improving student culture, awards and student recognition, advising the advisory curriculum, and emotionally intelligent classrooms.
So we'll entertain any questions you may have.
Anyone have questions? Ms. Rossi?
So I see listed on, your survey and your information, there is definitely, a lot of positives. I'm not focused on a lot of reds or anything
Sure,
like that.
sure.
My question is, you have everything listed as the high school and the co-op. That's the PASS program, correct?
Correct.
So there's a separate.
Correct. There's a
day-
school within a school at the high school.
Okay, so I would like to see that more broken out to differentiate what is the general matriculation as opposed to where the survey results would lie from.
There's one teacher in that school.
Okay, and is the past information included in this information as well, or?
No.
Okay, because I would like to see at some point that information, because I feel like that would be, you know, we're trying to, obviously, there are alternate ways for our kids to succeed,
Sure.
which is amazing.
Awesome.
I know it's a great program. I was at the graduation, heard lots of the kids speak of how great it was and how it saved them, you know, and allowed them to graduate. So I would like to see more data on that program because of how successful I feel like it is for so many kids, as an
Just wanna-
alternative.
So part of the issue is that they're adjunct, so the staff that are hired for the PASS program are different than the staff that we have inside the school within a school. Do you see what I'm saying? And they're adjunct, so it's just a different, they wouldn't be considered a Unit A member, so to speak,
Whereas
so
you
I
said
guess.
that was the school within a school, I understand that that's fine if that data is all incorporated, but I
Right.
meant,
No.
I'd like to see PASS in addition to this,
Right, so right, but that would be it would be a different survey.
which is fine, but I
Yeah.
would like to see at some point that
Got it.
included, because they should have an action plan and an improvement plan as well. If they're part of our district and part of our success moving forward, I'd like to see going forward some information and some of the same great passion and, you know, ideas that are helping the general matriculation succeed. You know, I'd like to see, you know, where that goes for that program as well, because it's just as important, in my opinion, as the rest of the schools. Thank you.
Sure. Ms. Morgan?
So a follow-up to what April was asking. So I noticed, it's just a technical question, but I noticed on the information, it says that you're the principal of the co-op, because last year it was Jane Fondulis.
No, it's Jane Fondulis.
Okay,
I don't-
she's just not listed.
Oh, okay.
And then, so there's only one classroom.
Correct.
For the day, and how many
Correct.
students are in there?
Currently, I believe there's 7 students in the program, and I think we're adding one more, Mike, shortly. So it's, matter of fact, one of the students in there just got Student of the Month for the month of September. So it's a great, a great program, very similar to the PASS program at night. We're very lucky to have those programs on board, and the students that have been able to be saved, it's amazing. It's an amazing program, and we're blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bakioki?
Yep, thank you. So you talked about peer observation. So can you tell me what that looks like in the high school?
So this is my baby, so I'm going to
All
steal
right, go
this one
ahead.
if you don't mind.
All
So
right, go ahead.
I'm going to give you a little history. So as all the principals, we're the only ones that get a chance to go into all the classrooms, and I come out whenever I can get in there, and just I feel awesome coming out because we've got some unbelievable instruction going on. And so I get out and I go and see the department head, and they've already been in there like 4 times, so they know exactly what I'm talking about. But then it's just like the two of us are the only ones that have seen that. So we started this informally probably about 7 years ago. If a teacher had an area of concern, we would encourage them to go see other teachers to improve. This was usually done at the halfway point with a formative, and then we hoped that at the end with a summative, they'd be proficient in that area we were looking at. And we saw great results from, you know, maybe a dozen teachers at most over a few years. And we said, as a group, we said that we've got to continue this practice and ramp it up. So what we do at the high school, this is, as was mentioned, our 2nd year, and every teacher is encouraged to go into 1 classroom per term, total of 4 at the end of the year, and these folks document it and give them PDP points for recertification purposes, but it also allows for some organic conversations to occur in their department meetings, and most of them either start off or end discussing who's seen what. And was really awesome last year was when we had the summatives for teachers that have professional status. I would say 3/4 of the teachers brought up under Standard 4 professional responsibilities their peer observations that they made and what they saw. And you know, it's really about bringing tools back to your classroom and filling up your tool bucket. And it was unbelievable to hear at least 24 teachers talk about what they observed and how they brought things back to their classrooms. So we're kind of, you know, we teach in silos, and we're kind of trying to break down those silos to allow for teachers to learn, because trust me, the best PD is happening in those classrooms when we observe, better than any world-renowned person we can come in to speak to our staff.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. I'm really glad you're able to make that happen.
Thank you.
So we've also heard a lot about the various types of assessments that are going on in other schools. Is that happening at the high school too? different?
I mean, I can actually, just from looking at some of the performance assessments that were handed in from the in-service, they're reframing what already has been happening. So the beauty of, I think, what we see with what teachers are putting together is it's happening. Now they're framing the role in which the student plays. So for instance, in science, I saw students are playing the role as engineers and they're doing collision experiments. And in math, they're acting as architects and doing vacation cabin assignments where they have a standard for success, but the way they solve the problem is going to look different for every student. And then other areas like foreign language and business, they both had public service announcements. One was acting as interpreters, others had students acting as marketing teams. So it's very varied, but consistent in terms of the standards for success that they have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I still have a couple more questions. So you're talking about expanding the IB program with the MYP program. So not all students in the high school take an IB class.
Correct.
So how does all that training that's done, how does that affect a student, or does it affect a student in the high school who doesn't take an IB class per se?
Sure. So no matter what the teacher is teaching, because we don't just have IB teachers. We have a teacher that teaches one IB class and or maybe two if they're lucky. So I think, and please jump in, the training that they learn, and I know, Michelle, you've been in the training, and Andrea, Brent, I think almost all of us have been to the training. They bring it back, that student-driven instruction, they bring that back to all of their classes they're teaching. So I believe, again, it kind of happens organically by the training. They take the training, which is a lot of best practices, and implement that into their college prep they're on us. But you all, many of you are still in the classroom, please chime in.
MYP is different from DP. So DP is what we've already had. So like IB math is part of the diploma program. So what MYP is MYP is more, it's not going to be labeled as like an IB class. It's the curriculum we're teaching and the way we're teaching and connecting more to that real world. So that's going to be embedded in all classes. It's not necessarily going to be labeled as IB, but every class, grade 8 through 10, the goal is they're going to be part of this MYP. So they're going to all be exposed to the IB language, the IB learner profile, more real world application, getting them ready for those DP classes if they choose to do that as they move up.
So I went to the middle years program training when the other department heads went to the IB diploma program because I do special ed. So there's a lot of focus on the middle years program on differentiation and meeting students where they're at and then building them up from there, so that like you see what a student learns and not necessarily that they just meet this standard, but in different ways. So when we're talking about student choice and different ways that they're doing things, after I came back from the middle years program training, I said it was a lot like a special ed class that you would take or a special ed training that you would take. So for me, I feel like the middle years program is really beneficial to all of our kids, and I know a lot of times my focus is on the special ed students, but I think it's just more beneficial to all kids because it's teaching you different ways to teach a student, because all students, regardless of what class they're in, they don't learn the same way. So I think middle years just has you really focus on where is that student at, how can they show success, because it may not be in the same way, you know. So I think that's going to be the difference now that the teachers have gone to the middle years training.
Okay. Well, good. I mean, so I think it's important that all of us and parents and everyone know that all the students are benefiting from that. That, you know, sometimes you think of IB, you just think of classic IB classes and, like you said, the diploma program. So thank you. I'm really glad.
Thank you.
Just one last question. Same question about the parents. So I know that you run a lot of things at the high school. I know there are lots of opportunities for parents to come in and gather information and sharing what's happening there. And I know that it's not always well attended.
Right.
So, or as well attended as you would like. So what can we do to change that?
Feed them.
Well, even when you do that, sometimes it doesn't
Usually
work.
that's our best bet, is if we provide food, they'll show up.
Yeah.
It's just the budget doesn't allow for that to happen very often.
Right, right.
We've tried everything, and we've talked to colleagues in the field in the area. everyone's dealing with the same thing at the secondary level. It's very difficult to get parents involved. We utilize, oftentimes if we're looking for surveys, while they're dismissing the kids, we'll have them fill out a survey. Athletic events, we'll have them fill things out. We had 25% of our parents show up for the open house. We were pretty happy with that. That's pretty good for us. But we're always trying. We're trying different things. We're utilizing every form of the press, the calls home, the emails. We're just going to keep trying. We're not going to quit. And you know what? If we get 40 parents to show up, we get 40 parents to show up. They shouldn't be penalized because they want to be involved. We're just going to keep trying, and we'll see what happens. But we're always open to new ideas. So we're always looking online, researching, talking to our colleagues in the field. No one has the kind of that golden umbrella that's going to work for everything, but we'd love to have more parents invested and more parents involved because we believe the more involved they are, obviously, the better the outcome is going to be for the student.
It's just disappointing to me because I know there's so many opportunities that people miss out on and they don't even know. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Morgan?
Just also follow up from some of the things that Joyce talked about. Just out of curiosity, how many students are in your IB diploma-bound program?
Our IB diploma program, we had 3 last year, 2 that received the diploma, and I believe the numbers are very similar this year. I believe it's about 3. But we have, I believe it's 60 students taking at least one course. So it's pretty good numbers. The majority of students are, taking an IB course or taking a couple IB courses. But the diploma is quite rigorous, and I hope to ramp that up and get a few more kids in there. Try and get close to 12 in the next couple of years.
And how many of the 60 students are special ed students?
I know there's a few. I'd have to go back and check. I think it's about a handful, but I'd certainly want to get you an exact number. But there are special ed students that are in. Andrew, you might
about 5 or 6.
Okay, thank you.
This year are in IB classes.
But we anticipate with the MYP, when the MYP is rolled out, we anticipate those numbers increasing because the kids, I think, are going to have a little more confidence. All kids, I think we're going to see an increased number of students, and I think subsequently an increased number of students with IEPs.
And what's the average class size?
Well, it's funny you should ask because we just ran that. I didn't look across the board at IB. They're small, but I would say probably around 10 on the average. But we just ran the numbers we just turned in the numbers this morning. So we're getting better. It's taking us time. I said here a few years back it would take us 3 years to get to respectable numbers in the IB program, and I think we're going to hit that next year.
One last question.
Sure.
So how many students do you have at the high school now that are school choice, that come in by choice?
We have more than you would think, but I'd certainly want to research. My guess is probably about 25, but I'd certainly want to give you an accurate number on that. We have quite a few, and we actually had 2 or 3 this summer that came in just for the IB program, which was great. We didn't anticipate that, but that was part of why they wanted to be there. They wanted to jump on the IB. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Just to follow up on Ms. Morgan's point, when you're talking about the class sizes, that's kind of incomplete at this point, right? Because you've still got more semesters and such. I mean, there'll be a completed report on.
Well, the kids are enrolled in semester classes, whether it be semester 1 or semester 2.
So, in that they can't switch, or can they?
There's always movement. I mean, there's kids moving in, kids moving out. That's the tough part. It's always a moving target. But I would say the numbers are probably 98% secure at this point. There'll be some movement, like you said, in and out, but the kids are enrolled in the classes they're enrolled in, and really the only change would be for IEP purposes or move-ins or move-outs.
Okay.
We've asked the principals to please turn in their class size reports, so the next meeting will be presenting that to you.
Okay, great. I was going to ask that. Thanks. All right, awesome. Ms. Rossi.
So back to the IB diploma information. So last year we had 3 students that were enrolled in the program, 2 of which received their diploma, which is on average for an IB school. What is the diploma enrollment, and what is like the target for you guys? I know that it's growing. I know that it's still a fairly new program, but two students seems like it's a lot invested, and I know it's still rolling out. I'm
Sure.
just, what's your target for the ones enrolled or to be enrolled? Like, what's your hope? You know what I mean? To get if you had your ideal number for those doing the actual diploma program.
Right.
As opposed to just the 1 to 2 classes.
Sure.
What would that number be? And the second is when they do take those 1 or 2 or few classes, what's the benefit of that towards their regular standard diploma or their AP or what have you? Like, how does that weight differently, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
than a regular class?
So, I think, if I was to give you a hard number of how many students we'd want applying for the IB diploma, we want to get to probably about 20 students applying for that, and we want to hit as close to 100% as possible in passing that. That's going to take some time, and speaking to other principals and directors, it takes a little while to get to that. And I think, they hit on 3 out of 4 is usually, if they have 4 kids apply, 3 usually get the diploma. So I think for the first year, 67%, we're pretty happy with that for the first year. And the third student missed by 1 point. So, so that's something. In regards to the IB, these are freshman college level courses. So to me, if a kid takes 1, that's a win, because now that kid understands the rigor, the expectations of a college level course, and they're going to be more inclined to be successful in college and graduate within a timely fashion. So I think that's the exciting piece. But we're pushing the envelope, and we're going to continue to try and do that and offer these programs. But like I said to you before, we're not just focused on IB and AP. We've got a huge population that we need to really focus on beyond these IB, AP, dual enrollment students. And that's really our drive, moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Dr. Schwam.
I just thought it would be interesting to note that we had 80 students participate in IB exams last year. So there were 80 tests taken, and there were 81 AP tests taken. So that was a pretty big number of tests that were taken. And if they score a certain number on either of those, colleges accept them as a first-year credit. So they don't have to take, they don't have to take an English or a math. If they get a certain number on the AP or the IB, they're excused from that. So that's a benefit, financial benefit, actually.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Ms. Morgan.
You just brought up a good point about focusing on the other students. So my question is, are we putting in more vocational programming for students?
Sure. So I think you saw, and Brent alluded to it, the electric car is, and I pop in at least once a week just to see the progress. That's it's a not a Chapter 74 program, obviously, but it's a hands-on vocational type course. The computer science is a new course, and the gaming course as well. So we're always trying to, through the Student Advisory Council, talk to the students and come up with some ideas of what they'd like to see. And also, obviously, staying current in the field and researching what's out there. The e-games is a big thing right now, so we're jumping on that and getting that off the ground. So we're always trying to be reflective and just see what's out there, stay current, and get kids excited, because all it takes is one class, and all of a sudden a kid who hasn't been involved, and all of a sudden they get excited about that one class, and it changes their whole attitude for all of their other classes. So it's pretty exciting to see. And in the electric car class, there's one kid that's like the steward of the shop. I mean, he's just like literally like running the show, and it's pretty cool to see him delegating and having some leadership responsibilities, and it's pretty cool.
We also have some components through the special ed department, but those are individualized based on the students. But we have a job coach who's working with our post-grad students and some of our 12th grade students on soft skills and then on job skills. So that's new this year, that we had a rotation before of jobs, but now we're trying to focus on specified jobs for individuals. So, I mean, that's separate from, I think, the entire school improvement plan, but.
It's important for the adult your adult special needs students that you have there. And, but it'd be nice if you had one, at least one that where they could come out with like culinary or electrical or whatever, at least one that they could go through, you know.
We have marking, that's chapter 74.
Yeah.
And, you know, speaking of culinary, they come out with the Serve Safe, and they come out with so many hours of instruction, and a lot of these kids are working part-time in restaurants. We'd love to have, you know, other Chapter 74 programs. It's very difficult because there's a competition clause with Upper Cape in that we can't start one that they already have, and the ones that they don't have are, the infrastructure is a huge amount of money, and you need space too on top of that.
Right.
All right, my turn. Back when we put the 8th grade in, you know, your big thing then was the GPA clock.
Right.
How's that working out?
Well, the term hasn't closed yet, so this is really the first term, but I'll give you a story from a freshman teacher who teaches only freshmen, and she said to me, I can't believe how better prepared the 9th graders are coming in this year, and she teaches all freshmen. And it's no disrespect to anyone, it's just that they were in the building, they understood the schedule, they understood how everything goes, you know, it's different, you know, one school to the next. So I thought that was great evidence of we're heading in the right direction. Certainly, we'll take a look at when term 1 closes in just a few weeks, and we'll start looking at those numbers and seeing, you know, what percentage of the population did we reduce the failure rate, things of that nature. So we'll be looking at that data. But the biggest piece that kind of probably goes unnoticed is students are now making a decision whether to stay in Wareham sight seen versus sight unseen.
Yeah, yeah. I heard mention of computer science classes. What's being offered right now?
Thanks. We offer, new this year, a semester-long elective for grade 8 students. We have a new cybersecurity class that runs for ideally juniors and seniors, but we have a bit of more of a mix now. And computer science essentials, which counts as a core science towards graduation, and students can take in their 9th or 10th grade year. And then on the books, we've only ever had 2 students do it through. We've got an upper level computer science, it's called computer science principles, such that we didn't list it as an AP, but a kid at the end of that class is ready to take the AP.
Oh, all right. And you mentioned the 8th graders now have the option to take science classes and stuff now?
So this year was the first year we started that, where they could pick. What we found was that there was a small percentage of kids that may not have been strong in all 4 content areas. So what we did was we kind of created like a humanities and kind of a STEM dual enrollment section. And of course, we still have the traditional take the 4 advanced courses. So it gives the students some flexibility. Maybe you're not strong in humanities, but you're strong in science and math. You could just take those 2 courses and vice versa.
All right, we're running pretty late, but so you got off the hook here a little bit with your surveys, but I was a little disappointed with 14 and 19 categories for the staff are going down, and
well, it's hard when you're up pretty high on some of those it's hard when you're up on some of those and to stay, you know, in the 90s. But we did look at, just so you know, we did look at the PD. That's a big one that we're looking at in regards to the team. The leadership team checks in to make sure the training made a difference. We're really focusing on curriculum, and sometimes I think people, you know, when you're doing curriculum constantly, because that's what we need to do, they want other opportunities for PD other than continuously doing curriculum. So we did speak to the staff on some of these areas where we did go down, and that's certainly an area that we're looking at. The other one we're looking at as well are the exemplars, and I think you heard it in today's presentation. So we're really looking at those areas where we weren't as high as we wanted to be, and we're being reflective, and we're trying to incorporate that into our meetings, both at the department level and at the general meeting level.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, Deacon's, John W. Deacon's Elementary School.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bethany Chandler, principal.
I'm Sarah Risa, assistant principal. Joanne Gibbs, assistant principal.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What were you doing when I came in there? What were you guys doing?
We were doing a fast test.
And what is a fast test?
So, like, you have to answer like, stories and sentences and all kinds of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, click on this word that is wrong.
How do you know which ones to do?
Because I've basically done this in first grade.
Oh, so you know what you're doing.
Yes.
Now,
And I do this at home on my Chromebook. I have a Chromebook at my house. I do it on my Chromebook at my house.
so you can log into this same thing and do it at home?
Yeah.
And why do you do that?
Because I just want to get smarter.
When students speak to their learning, they really begin to know it, and it stays with them. You're not being taught at anymore, but it's from that individual perspective of being able to share your knowledge with others.
There's never one year that is the same as the year before because we're seeing an idea, reading about an idea,
changing what we do,
talking about it, improving something that we did before.
So we had just attended one of the MassQ conferences, and we attended a workshop on Seesaw. So we came back, we implemented in our own classroom, and then we actually did a little workshop for the other teachers in the school.
The electronic portfolio is a compilation of a student's work over a period of time and shows the progression of where a student started, where they ended. There's a way to involve parents. You know, we're just getting started, but we're so excited that our voice was heard and we were encouraged to try this, and they're supporting us fully.
This is the first year that they're testing on the Chromebooks, so it's new for them. I think it's helpful. We group the kids for, reading groups, writing groups, things like that. We obviously use our own teacher assessments, but these tests also help us, to group the kids to make sure they're learning at a level that is appropriate for them.
It's really simple to use. The kids loved using it, and the scores are really giving me some good feedback. So if a test is showing me that somebody needs to be working on rhyming, it'll show me what activity I can do to help them with the rhyming. So whatever it is that I need for that student or what they need, it'll show me what I can do for them.
We do an activity, I call it my Once Upon a Time game, where we've got like a big bag of stuff, and they pull something out. If they pull something out, they've got to add a detail to the story. And so it kind of gets those voices and those creative juices flowing, and again, that is a voice coming up there and being able to add a detail to the story. And then we say it all from start to finish, and if you gave a detail to that story, you listen, like, oh, that was me, I made that. And they feel that, they feel like we care, like I care, you care. Everyone is there listening to them, and they're being heard. And what they're saying is important.
What's so important with the teacher-student relationship is for the teacher to really listen to a child. Ask good questions, open-ended questions, and then listen to what the child is saying. It's about students using their voice and being able to articulate at beginning stages what they know and are able to do. School improvement is about picking your resources to assess, utilizing the data generated from the assessments, and making sound decisions based on the data and moving forward. That's what school improvement is about.
Okay, thank you. We had some time back there, so I really changed my school improvement plan from last year. I'm just kidding, Actually, it's not going to change much from last year at all, because in my mind, when we look at why we do our business. It is looking at students, looking at best practices every day. It's always honing our instruments, looking at what we do, and looking at the results, and then doing it over again. It's cyclical. So this school improvement plan is cyclical from last year because the elements that I'm going to go through are timeless. Student and staff voice, I think you heard it from the teachers in the video, but it is so important to collect data from students and from teachers in order to make the improvements in your school. So what we're looking at here is building upon teacher subcommittees. I really very much believe in listening to what teachers have to say. So we're building these subcommittees. We've done it for the past 2 years. This year we're adding 2 subcommittees. One is the NIAC. We're NIAC accredited, but it's important that we have a subcommittee on it because it's a lot of work for just one person. So we're building that subcommittee. And also we're building a special ed subcommittee that I think it's really important just to look at how we're writing our IEPs, what we're looking at that's going to be led by the team chair. So we're adding to the subcommittees. We're going to continue offering choices through student-centered activities. We're still working with our literacy consultant. We're continuing Focus K2 programming, the OWLS curriculum in preschool, and Mystery Science, which is new. We were lacking a little in science, I felt, since we dropped our STEM teacher and added the drama. So we kind of reinvested in science, especially in grade 2. I heard the teachers' voices, and the grade 2 teachers were very excited about Mystery Science, which is an online component, and we heard their voices, and now we've added that curriculum to DECUS this year. Expand independent writing and journaling to promote self-reflection, articulation, and critical thinking. Again, we were getting a lot of feedback back from Minot Middle School about writing practices. It's a real goal of ours. We've put in our writing days. We were the last school to do it. So it had started at the middle of school, I think, Dr. Schwam, then Minot, and then I said, well, it's our time to have these writing days. And it's really great, and you can see the writing all over our walls. And then open-ended and self-directed. You could hear, I'm talking about Miss Wolf, talking about building their portfolios. We have Google Classroom going on in grade 2. So it's really important for our little guys to begin working on what it is that they want to know. So it's a little bit looking at beginning for them to be, what is being a student all about? What is it being a student all about? So that's what empowering teachers to explore self-directed evaluations and also having the students know what they're supposed to be doing as independent workers. Just as all the other schools, emotional intelligence, we all went to the ruler training, 4 of us did, and we are beginning the implementation through the professional development opportunities available through the Ruler Institute. And by the way, that website is amazing. It has so many resources, and so we're just tapping into those to do the PDs for the staff. And establish environment of student agency. We're going to, as I said, continue the subcommittee work of community service learning, give students opportunities to engage with the local community in order to develop stewardship. We have a lot of great ideas. Ms. Russo heads up that committee, so she could talk a little bit about that and the ideas that they have there. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Certainly.
Put her on the spot here.
Good evening. Presently, the Community Service Learning Community, we're in the process of planning an event honoring those who serve our community and those who have served our country. And so we have our Veterans Day celebration. It's going to be November 8th. We're quite excited about it this year. We've actually teamed up with Wareham High School with that part of that for the ceremony, and our students are doing an interactive project that they'll be presenting that day to those who have served the community. In addition to that, we have a second grade teacher who has applied and received a grant, and her students will be doing stewardship in an assisted living home and going in to read with residents that are there in that home.
We'll be getting utilized time to understand and synthesize the assessment tool, oral reading fluency. This is a new tool, assessment tool for us this year. It's really, really exciting. The data that we're getting from this fluency test is just out of this world. Students speak in a microphone, and they record voices, so you'll be able to, the teachers can have that data to hear the children read and see their progression of their reading over time. DRAs used to be live, and now we can listen to the children's fluency, and we can backtrack it to see their real progression. It's a great, great tool, so we're excited about that. The teachers are excited about it. The students had a good time taking this test, so we're very excited about the oral reading fluency coming our way. Then we're going to implement the following instructional resources. We're doing the comprehensive units. We've heard that throughout all the schools. The mystery science and iReady mathematics. Again, iReady is also new. We heard the teachers' voices. They wanted to try in grade 1 a new math program, and it's iReady, so they're working at it. They love it, and we're looking at now showing the PD to grade K and then up to grade 2. And then incorporating Focus K2 to enhance content knowledge and increase rigor. Building trust, that's just always, it's always going to be part of a school improvement plan, is to have trust in your building. It creates a safe environment, it creates a collaborative environment, and it's frankly one of my biggest goals all the time to think about. So it'll always be there. Continue to meet with subcommittees to generate ideas and implement best practices, provide opportunities for peer observations, we've heard that a few times tonight, in order to build upon ideas, best practices, teacher-led PD, including topics of literacy, science, social, emotional well-being, and occupational therapy, and continue to work collaboratively with community resources to recognize that we're all responsible for students' learning. Thank you. I want to thank you, school committee. I want to thank the assistant principals here. And I have 4 school council members behind me right there. I believe they're all still there. So, Ms. Fillion, thank you. Department Chair of Preschool, part of school council. Ms. Bazinet, Ms. Fernandez, Mrs. Tricker are all here to support. And they are always giving me feedback every month and sharing new ideas about our school, so I very value their opinion very much, and thank them for being here tonight. I'll take questions.
All right, thank you. Who's first? Ms. Becchiacchi.
Well, so I'll ask you the same question that I've asked everyone else about peer observation and what it looks like at DECUS.
Yeah, and I feel like we don't even have walls at DECUS sometimes. Like, everybody's talking all day in the hallway. We teach in the halls. So I think we do a lot of collaboration already. It's an opportunity. So I think that when we work at peer observations, it's nothing I'm going to do top down. So if teachers want to see other teachers, I'm going to offer that availability to them. I think that we just need to advertise it and make sure that everyone feels okay with it. We've had a few peer observations already this year. I encourage more. I think it's more just about advertising that it's out there and it's safe and a trusting environment to do it in.
Okay. And so you talk about trust, which is so important because you are the first school experience that kids, parents are having. So, yeah. So speaking of parents, I've been to events at DECUS, so I know that you don't have any trouble getting people to attend. And I get it. I get it. It's, you know.
I don't have a big enough
age.
parking lot.
Age.
That's what I need.
Right.
Triple-decker parking.
Right. So I don't have to ask you how you're going to improve that because at that age, it's not difficult.
And it's interesting how that is. So, and we were also thinking about, you know, student voice. We have a lot of voice going on at DECUS, and inhibitions, they don't have any. So, like, they are ready when it, you know, comes to, like, student agency. There's just parents come in, students have. We have a lot of fun at DECUS. It's a magical place.
It is. It is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Morgan?
So you brought it up, NIAC. I'm curious. because a lot of districts have dropped it because it's no longer as valuable as it used to be. The reason we would get NIAC accreditation was usually because of grant funding. And now the state has gone to the QRIS, which, are you doing that, the QRIS no?
Not yet, but
Okay.
maybe we should go for it, Mary.
I think
Yeah.
some grants, at least in the past, I see that some grants were connected to it, but I'm not sure if that's still going on or not.
All right.
But I'm just curious, because of all the work that is involved with NIAC, why we've decided to stay with NIAC, or NACI, as the child care world would say.
Well, I think when you look at accreditation programming, there is a component to it that does check and balances. There is a check and balances to it. I like to look at the reports and see what they look at as being an accredited preschool or kindergarten. I think it's a good advertisement that we are, because, like I said, they have a lot of points that we should be following, whether it's NIAC or QRIS. I do think that there is value in looking at systems of accreditation.
I agree, but
Or
I
a
think
system.
one of the things I found that it was the conflict between the early childhood department and the Department of Secondary and Elementary Education departments. For instance, some of our qualified teachers who have master's degrees would not be considered qualified in the elementary education world because they don't have a specific class or something like that. So I saw a lot of conflict between the two departments. It would be nice if we just joined together. That would make things a little easier.
I think so too, Ms. Morgan. Thank you.
Anything, Ms. Rossi? Okay. All right. You all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
So,
Let me turn to my survey.
yes. No, it's pretty much really good, right? So, and you've been principal there for the 2018 year?
Yeah, it's my third year.
Yeah. So, it's like night and day, really, for the positive.
Thank you.
It really, I mean, I don't have to say it, it's just fact. Just really doing a great job there, I think. Your staff too, obviously, but you're the one at the microphone right now. But one here that really popped up. Okay, the number 7, leadership team responds to and addresses disruptive behavior. I mean, it jumped from in 2017 it was 68, and when you took the helm, it went from orange to blue and stayed there, and that's just, I like to see that, and it helps kids focus, and do well.
Thank you.
Let's jump down to 16, and again, it's improved. It went from red to yellow and stayed yellow. But I'm just kind of curious how we can improve this. It's if my evaluator identifies a weakness in my teaching practice, there are effective support systems in place to help me improve. How can we bump that up?
Oh, it's interesting because the administrative team and we talk a lot about feedback, and I do think it's an area. This is the evaluation team. Ms. Fillion evaluates as well, but we're a smaller evaluation team. It's not a bad thing. It's what we choose. We have a lot of paraprofessionals. We get a lot of support in other areas at Deacon's School, which we need, and it's working for us. I wanted to say that. But with that being said, we just need to have conversations with teachers. I think the first year we're just trying to cover, right? But now we've got time, based on the discipline results here. We've got time to talk with teachers, and I'm really excited about that. We've had a lot more conversations this year about goals than we have in the past, and we're working on that. But it's acknowledged. I see that, Mike.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. And so number 19 here, together teachers and the leadership team discuss exemplars of students' work to ensure it is of high standard. And that jumped from 2018 of a 66% to an 86% in 2019. And it's like, wow, what happened there?
I can tell you what happened. It was a whole, like, the movement with the writing piece. So when you get feedback from, the other schools about writing and what we can do, and Dr. Schwam's like, hey, how we should have our writing days. Well, we implemented those 3 days, and then we started beginning to look at grade level work, and we started looking at other work. So it just gave us a lot of opportunity and reason to look at student work. So that's what we do, and we check it out. And
yeah, and so those are anonymous, right? That feedback is anonymous.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can tell me why, and that's what I like to hear. I mean, that you see a big jump like that, and you understand why. So that I'm glad to hear that. Other than that, I just keep up the great work, really.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, school committee.
Thank you.
Thank you again, school council and members. I appreciate it so much.
All right, thank you.
I'd just like to thank Dr. Schwam, the principals, their administrative team, our department heads, and our faculty and staff, because we certainly have seen a lot of hard work over the past several years, and it's paying off.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And this is a really great report. I mean, it's very very comprehensive. And if I have questions, I know I didn't ask them, but I can ask these people questions, and they can answer them if it's stuff that's not in here. All right, moving on. Acceptance of gifts.
Okay. We have the following gifts for you to accept from Sharon Boyer, non-perishable canned goods and cloth backpack to the Stage Backpack Program. Approximately 75 hand-knitted winter hats and mittens from the Knit Wits of Wareham, and 60 backpacks from Morrison's Music Production for the students of the John W. Deacon School. School supplies for the backpack program from the Monzel International New England East Branch. 4 checks totaling $8 from AT&T, Your Cause, to the Wareham High School to purchase snacks for MCAS. I'd ask the committee to please accept the 4 gifts.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Just want to say thank you, as always. One of my favorite parts of the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Moving on, vote on superintendent's goals for 2019-2020.
Earlier, I had provided you my goals. We had gone over them, and we waited to get everyone here. Unfortunately, that's not happened, but I would ask you to please approve my goals at this time.
Do you want to just mention the title of each one, like
Sure.
per number?
Sure.
You don't happen to have it in a file, do you, that you put on the screen?
Oh, I do, maybe. Let me see. Nope.
What's on the very
Last
bottom?
one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
All right, so here's the first goal. To continue to develop and support the district's capital plan. To work collaboratively on the strategic plan and to support the building project. Goal number 2, to work collaboratively with administrators and staff to improve academic and social outcomes for all students. Goal number 3, to work with stakeholders to increase the employees' emotional intelligence to impact all stakeholders. Will enhance connections with families and the community. And enhance school leaders' connections with families and the community. So I would ask you to please approve the goals.
All right. And as you mentioned, we did have a workshop. We did vet these at that time, but I'd certainly entertain any further discussion if people would like to do that.
I would just like to say I thought that it was helpful to have that workshop, so I hope that's something we can continue to do.
Yeah, sure. It was the superintendent's idea.
Right,
yeah.
right.
With that said, I'll take a motion to approve the goals as presented.
Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 400. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, earlier tonight, I handed you my self-evaluation. It has supporting evidence, which you'll have to share. I'm trying to get it.
There you go. And when she mentions the supporting evidence, you're talking about the binders, right?
The binders.
Yeah, so it's, like last year, no, it's new for April, but she has binders of correspondence and documents throughout the year that you can review. I think last year, I think we kind of traded them off, like one of us would take it, read them, and move it on to the next committee member, and so that's what we'll do.
Okay.
I guess I'll start. I'll take it tonight.
Okay.
Okay, the Department of Ed had developed the superintendent's evaluation. It's a goal-driven process. The committee received my self-evaluation this evening, as then they will complete their part of the process. It's the goal of the state for superintendents to be evaluated in a fair and objective process, free of any personal bias. The state has developed the 4 standards, which I will speak to.
Just sorry to interrupt. Hey, Bob, can you hear that okay? Is she coming through? Yes. Okay, good. Just sounded soft. Yeah. Maybe tilted a little toward you more or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew, it's like a singer here. Okay,
Yeah, better.
The instructional leadership. Our school improvement plan drives decisions which are made for all students. Last year, our plan identified student voice and creating an environment of agency as essential elements. The learning environment supports the mastery of content and skills along with global literacy, innovation, and risk-taking. Examples include the International Baccalaureate, Focus K2, Project Lead the Way. Data is collected in real time, K2, K5 FAST, DRA. And then professional development has been targeted by looking at patterns of data over time. Our focus has been on creating effective professional development by empowering school personnel to take an active role in preparation, identifying the need through data, and certainly it works to embed in practice. I listed the goals which you voted upon. Well, last year you voted upon. The first one was support the Minot building project and also to continue to strengthen the district's capital plan. Ensure all students have access to a challenging and engaging instruction that's both rigorous and meets the students' individual needs. The third, improve academic performance for all students with specific focus on student subgroups. The fourth, facilitate a communication system that will inform, listen, update all members of the school community of procedures, policy, academic programs, opportunities, and concerns. The instructional leadership, the standard 1, our school improvement drives the goals and actions in our district. Educators have designed effective and rigorous standard-based units of instruction with measurable outcomes. Student progress is continually monitored. Progress is assessed with formal and informal assessments, and assessments are analyzed. Results are used to inform practice, implement interventions, and enhance opportunities for students. Opportunities are offered for students. Examples are course offerings, clubs, sports, travel, etc. Opportunities have been expanded to summer, which is available, summer offerings which are available to all. The part of the strategic plan that comes into play also provides feedback. We've addressed goals with challenging and engaging instruction. We've looked at academic performance for all students and subgroups. We've had a common template developed by faculty, and there have been many units of instruction created. The building plan and capital plan certainly have supported, and we're very grateful to the town for voting the school project forward. We're in the second phase of a 3-phase process. I spend a considerable amount of time reviewing plans, cost. I attend at least 95% of the subcommittee and committee meetings, and we also have biweekly construction meetings. Capital, one of the things that we had heard, this district has not taken very good care of their buildings, so we've made a very concerted effort to address the needs. Examples, extensive HVAC repair at the high school and middle school. We've had the gym floor refinished at the middle school. Our security systems have been updated. We've placed new bleachers into the gym, new carpet at the middle school, new tile at Deacon's, and softball fields have been redone, and we're constantly looking at ways to update the fields and grounds. Community engagement. We believe that promoting the learning and the growth of all students with partnerships through the family and community members. I've provided a number of resources, professional development, and related supports in my evidence that have identified students' academic, social, emotional, and behavior needs. The PASS program has expanded offerings. We've included social emotional support. We've included the summer program opportunities, and we've included a seminar series. The 5th quarter is at the high school, and it offers virtual opportunities. The CARE summer camp, 210 students enrolled, and the high school SAIL program had 55 students. The courses have been expanded, and we have added some paraprofessionals in the lower elementary, and social emotional support has been added in all buildings. So that gives you a brief overview of the, and then the professional culture. My team's developed and promoted a secure commitment to core values that guide development in a very result-oriented vision statement and with ongoing decisions. We have a shared commitment of high standards of teaching and high expectations for achievement for all. We also have developed the website into a more user-friendly. I have weekly blogs, there's community participation, and we actively promote mental health awareness. So in my packet, it gives much more detail and along with the evidence.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time you've had to do this in public like this?
Yes.
Yeah. Just, I want to get this in the public so that, people can review this and get back to the school committee if they have anything to offer as well. Just, transparency. So when we have the full evaluation, it's not a big surprise to everybody, that they understand where she was coming from to begin with. Mm-hmm. Any questions or nothing? Okay, but there is a lot. I mean, if you look at her, she's got a lot of comments in the comment sections and the stuff that she just handed out tonight.
Yes. Right.
All right. So there's no vote. Here we go. So there's no vote, but I did want to just reiterate on on the email I had sent to you guys that you should have everything in hand at this point. Mm-hmm. to work on your evaluations, and I'd like to have them to me by November 7th, and we'll be discussing it in public session, the full evaluation on November 14th.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just curious, so you're going to take the binders home this evening, and then we'll be responsible for the evidence just to make sure that everything's done thoroughly to pass it along to each other within a certain time frame?
Yeah, I mean, just
So it sounds like it's a lot of information. So I just want to make sure that I have enough time. This being my first one that I'm looking over everything.
So I'll probably take it first, then I'll give it to you next, and then whoever wants it after that can have it. Okay. And then the last person probably just bring it back to the superintendent.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a timeline that you want?
Oh.
That's what I'm asking, like how long, you know what I mean? Do you anticipate having it? How long should we have to look it over before we pass it along to make sure that we all have enough time to? go through everything.
It sounds like a lot, but it is kind of a lot, but it doesn't take too long, right, to go through it?
No, and a lot of the stuff we have already. She's just organized it according to her goals.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bless you.
thank you.
Yeah. Do you want it first?
No.
Okay. All right, so with that, moving on to school committee protocols, discussion and possible vote. Ms. Bakayaki had asked to put this on the agenda a couple meetings ago, and
Yes.
the floor is yours.
So I asked you to put it on the agenda because we did talk about it at a meeting, and it did circulate, but it was only signed by me and by Laurie Spear. So I guess I just wanted to ask to the members who didn't sign it if there was something on here that you disagreed with or that you wanted to change, because certainly it's not, I mean, I collected this from last year from other school committees and what they do. And so if there's anything on here that could be changed so that it's something that we were all willing to sign, then we could certainly have that discussion. It wasn't meant to just be this or nothing, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Okay, Ms. Rossi?
Can I look at
Yeah,
it?
sure. It's up there too.
This is
Yeah.
way easier to see than that, because I remember that there was a reason that I didn't sign it, and I just want to quickly glance at it, so. Okay, so the reason that I didn't sign it was for number 4, that agree that when not in a scheduled meeting, questions, concerns, and requests for information will be only through the school committee chair and superintendent rather than directly to district staff. I feel like as a voted representative of the community that dependent on, it's every person on the school committee, it's different. It's going to be a rotating schedule depending on the election year. And I don't feel that us not being able to find out information on our own is conducive to doing what's best for the community and going through the chair. So if we vote to remove that as a protocol, then I would have signed it, but that's why I didn't sign it. I feel that if I have questions, I shouldn't have to as an adult, like this, there was notes here that I shouldn't have to, as a representative of the community, seek permission to find things out for the people that voted me into this position. So that's why I didn't sign.
So I'll ask you, Mike, because it's my understanding that that is the procedure that a school committee follows.
All right, did you have something, Mary? Or?
No, I was just going to say, I just don't see any purpose to it because it's just common sense in my opinion, in that we're all civil, and it almost makes me feel like that I have to abide by something that, I don't know, that I normally would probably do alone, I just don't see any purpose to it.
All right.
Well, so I guess my idea of the purpose of it is that a lot of times the public doesn't understand the role of the school committee. A lot of times they feel like we have more power over staff. We have no power over staff. We don't. So, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why, to be able to put this on our website and say as a school committee, this is what we feel.
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
So you had asked me about the whole asking principals or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I agree with April. Now it's different. It's different than going on a tour or something. I mean, you have to coordinate and stuff like that. But when you want to ask questions directly of principals or staff, that we're all adults here, and it just, I mean, so taxpayer Mike Flaherty, that's not on the school committee, can do that anytime he wants and call up the principal and ask, all kinds of questions about a school committee meeting that he saw. But school committee member, Mike Flaherty has to go through the chair. That's just no, I don't agree with that at all.
Well, okay. I guess I've been to the trainings for school committee members, and
We all
I
have.
guess that's how I understood the role. Now, you're both parents, so of students. So you have two roles. So you could be acting, as a parent, certainly your role is different than as a school committee
No,
member.
but even as a taxpayer, and I want to know like what's going on, why aren't we maintaining, the middle school or something? I heard on school, I read in the Wareham Week that, we need all of this. Why aren't you, fixing this or something like that? I should be able to do that. I mean, I shouldn't lose my rights because I got elected as a school committee member.
Well, all right, so then we'll take it off. I mean, if that's the only reason.
Well, hold on. I mean, so when you did this, when you first submitted this, I had like, I was trying to be pretty quiet and pretty polite. I mean, I agree with Mary. I think this is it's well intentioned, but a lot of it is common sense, and a lot of it is just common courtesy. Now, you and I won't mention names, but you and I have had this discussion about certain members that have signed this, or a member that has signed this, but disparage school committee members, and it wasn't. So whether you sign it or not, and you agree, right? I mean, that happened, right? And so. You can't legislate behavior. You can't, vote on this and now everyone's going to play nice, because sometimes things aren't, sunshine and rainbows, and sometimes you got to speak up when.
Well, I like sunshine and rainbows.
We all love it, but it's not all the time. Hold on, nope. So let's see.
Well, then again, that was just my opinion. So we don't have to sign it. We don't have the Wareham School Committee doesn't have to have this as a document that we adopt, and that's okay. But we didn't have this conversation before. There was no opportunity, to have this conversation. So that's why I asked you to put it on the agenda so we could, and that's okay.
Okay, Ms. Rossi?
Well, to speak to what you were saying about putting out publicly what our role is, I agree that that's something that we can have out there, but having a protocol that says who are we can or cannot speak to gather information if something's coming up, or we have other questions, instead of trying to coordinate with the chair or whatever, if we have the time and the ability to find things out, or without going through 900 hoops to find things out, and only to find that, you could be being evaded, someone might not want to give you the information. Not saying that that's what's happening, but when I look at something in a hypothetical situation, I'm going to look at it, it's going to be agenda specific or agenda sensitive. There might be some things people don't want to necessarily disclose, or might circumvent before you're getting information that you just could pointedly ask from the actual source, instead of running around. To another point that you had mentioned, I am a parent, but I had a meeting at the school yesterday, and I was there as a parent, not as a school committee member. And as an adult, I know how to differentiate the two. I'm here as a parent. I say that first and foremost. I'm saying this on behalf of my child, not on behalf of the committee. This is my opinion, not the opinion of the committee. And I think that most people who either voted us in or who know us know that we know the difference. And that should be, like Mary said, it should be common sense. I do agree that having the roles published of what we are able to control is a great idea. We can't dictate, what happens with our staff, or what happens with support staff, or what happens with teachers or principals. We can only control what we can control. That being said, if somebody in the public is repeatedly having an issue and they're trying those avenues and getting nowhere, and then they come to us, we're able to then direct them or try to get the attention of those parties to help get that community member's issues resolved. So I think that that's important to note, that while we can't hands-on, address their concerns, we can certainly continue to forward it, because if their communication is falling on deaf ears, or they feel like they're not getting anywhere, they may feel that if they come to us and we pass along that information, they're going to get that attention a lot faster if it's coming from us as opposed to coming from them. And I feel like the last two meetings with public comment, that's been the case, that they have felt that clearly that their concerns were falling on deaf ears, and they've tried every avenue they knew. So that's why they've then reached out to us to see if we can, whether we can't change the policy and we can't do anything in our power, but we can try to get the people whose attention they're trying to get to pay attention. And I feel like that shouldn't be lost, or we shouldn't be able to not interact with the public that elected us into these positions in the first place.
Well, it doesn't say that we can't interact with the public, but that's fine. I'm just one member. This was important to me, and I appreciate that we had this conversation, but it's certainly, if not all members, if it's not important to everyone, then that's okay.
Yeah, And just to follow up, I mean, I asked the question rhetorically tonight because I knew the answer, but I think I forgot to ask Mr. Palladino, but I asked everyone else. It says, if we have questions, we can call you, right? We can email you. And they all said yes. This is how I'm used to doing things. And it wasn't until this came about, it's like, are you kidding me? I can't talk. I have to go through the chair?
Well, you are the chair.
Well,
so-
now, but last year, when I wasn't last year when we
yeah.
did this, I'm like,
Yeah.
no. I mean, so.
So,
Okay. So, I mean, if it was just one thing, that if we took it off, if it was agreeable, I just wanted to make the point that this didn't have to be this because I brought it forward. It could be whatever we all wanted it to be. But it doesn't have to be at all. That's fine.
So I'll just throw it out there. I mean, I would entertain a motion, I'll just rephrase the last sentence here, to move that these protocols no longer be reviewed and signed yearly.
I second that. I motion that to delete it, to get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree I mean, I don't necessarily think, obviously, protocols, we have our role.
Is that a second?
Yes.
Okay, discussion? Go ahead.
Well, obviously, we have our roles, and I think that putting that out so that people understand what our roles are, but I think definitely if we do go forward, and I have no problem with there being a list of protocols of like, all right, the chair, runs the meeting, and this is what you do, things have to be seconded, there has to be a roll call for executives, like those kind of protocols I understand having to made public of how things work, and how we operate a meeting, but some of them that are not, like number 4, that if we wanted to address, maybe just like I said, if your concern is just so the public knows what our roles are, us signing that document has nothing to do with the public anyway. So I don't see what the relevance was for that being public versus us signing or not signing it. I'm just trying to find the correlation there, if that makes sense. Like, I don't understand what one member signing versus another member not signing has anything to do with the public knowing what our role is.
All right, we have a motion, a second, any further? So the motion was to move that the protocols. Move that the protocols no longer be reviewed and signed yearly. And be deleted. Right, that's what you said, and be deleted. Because this wasn't, I think when you brought this up, this wasn't even this is not even policy, it's just something, yeah. So to just delete it and no longer be reviewed. So we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? Passes 3-1-0. All right, thank you. Moving on to we're approaching 10 o'clock. Do I have a motion to go past the hour of 10 o'clock?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Kind of, but all right.
What, is that a yes?
Just I have to be up at like 5 in the morning. It's all right.
So that's a yes, right? So it passes 4-0-0 begrudgingly. So I mean, I had 3 hours of sleep last night. When the power went out, my dog was sleeping on my head and trying to be scared. All right, so so we did the protocols. We're on the report of the superintendent, approval of bill and payroll warrants.
Along with the printed, I have a bill warrant. Okay. Thank you. Bill warrant 10/24/19 in the amount of $3,665.17 and $214,936.95 payroll on October 12th in the amount of $907,404. I would ask the committee to please approve the bills and pay warrant.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Report of the school committee, discussion and votes of the mask resolutions. So I hope you have your mask resolutions.
No. Do you happen to have that printed or no?
I've got it here somewhere.
Yes, please.
I just have them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, do we have it in a file, maybe?
Have it on.
I was so prepared to. Let's see.
Well, the reason that I wanted it is because I'm the representative, so.
All right, so these are, oh, good, she has them right up there. These are resolutions, they come up every year before the meeting, the mask meeting, and, you know, these are the motions that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees has, you know, deliberated and felt important enough to bring forward to member districts. And you can vote on these or not. It's up to us. But I think we should go through them and make a decision one way or another to move forward or not. Let's start with the first one, banning polystyrene from schools. Does anyone have any feelings on that?
Do we use polystyrene in our district, or is this something that doesn't affect us whatsoever?
I am not aware of us using it, but I'd have to research it.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about a lot of these. You know what I mean? I understand how sometimes they're pretty important, especially some of the financial ones. But a lot of them are really like, you know, statewide, you know, initiatives that may or may not apply to us. All right. So do we have a motion? We don't have to have a motion. Well, no, I think I'd like to go through each one. Just. Yeah, but I'd like to get a sense if anyone wants to vote on. You don't
All
have,
right, so I'll make a motion that we vote yes to support Resolution 1.
Can I just ask one more quick? Because this is what,
well, before discussion, let's have a second.
well,
If
no,
they-
but this is before the vote. This is just to clarify on the resolutions, if I
Okay.
could.
Okay.
So this is for when, at the conference in November,
Mhm.
the delegate will represent whatever we vote on these resolutions at the conference. I'm just clarifying
Yes.
that's correct, right? Okay.
Yeah, whether you agree or not, you have to.
Right, no,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I'm just clarifying, so, thank you.
All right, so there's a motion, and do we have a second?
Second it.
All right, so Mary seconds, and so any further discussion? All right, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? I'll abstain. Just, like you said, it's just probably not, I can't even tell if it's relevant to our district. So, passes 3-0-1. All right, next is Resolution 2 pertaining to educator diversity professional licensure. Now, I suppose I should ask you guys, do you guys have any thoughts on any of this? I'm talking to the superintendent and the assistant superintendent.
I think our goal in hiring is always to get the best qualified candidate, and that's what we look for.
Do you think this would work toward that end?
I don't think this would impact us on finding the best qualified candidate.
Okay.
Well, my only question would be, in research that had been done, that districts that have higher diversity tended to perform better when they also had teachers of the same diversity. So I don't necessarily think, I mean, yes, they should be qualified, but I don't necessarily disagree that that's something that we should look at to, especially given the district that we have, that's not something that we shouldn't overlook.
Right, but this is pertaining to, you know, licensure and stuff, but they're saying that there might be some disparate impacts, I suppose, between people that have a hard time getting to get licensed or something like that. So, I mean, I don't know, I thought it was kind of a stretch.
So what I had written down is that I would say no to eliminating the MTEL, but yes to changing the makeup of the board. So there were two parts of the.
No to, yes to what and no to what?
No to eliminating the MTEL, but yes to changing the makeup of the board.
Okay. So is that a motion?
Sure.
Any second on that?
Second.
Okay, any further
They wa-
discussion?
I'll be honest, I didn't read it. They want to eliminate the MTEL?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whereas there is no
I think
evidence
what
the
I'd like to
MTEL is
see
a
is-
reliable or valid measure of
It's true.
successful practice.
I agree with that, but I don't know, there should be some other sort of, like alternative or something. Alternative path, which, that should be offered. Is that in there?
Well,
in that?
it's
No.
because, so, having dealt with the Board of Professional Licensure for cosmetology as a hairstylist, the people that come to or do our board certifications are cosmetologists. They have the background. So what this is saying is that they're prohibited from serving on, it says the teaching profession is the only profession or trade in Massachusetts where the holders of a license are prohibited from serving on its governing board. So I think it's looking to change that, is the way that I've read it. So it says, therefore to be resolved that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees calls for the elimination of the MTEL and the mass performing assessment for leaders as a licensing requirement for educators. And be it further resolved that the Massachusetts School Committee calls for the governance and licensure of professional educators to be vested in a board comprised of licensed educators. So it's like, this one seems to have way too many parts
Yeah.
to make any sense. So I think maybe we could abstain from this one, because it seems to be kind of all over the place.
Well, we have a motion and a second, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need a vote. So unless you want to retract, but both of you have to do it.
Well, we had a motion to vote on it.
Yeah.
Right, which is fine.
A motion to, Joyce's motion was specific to a yes
Oh.
on one thing and no on another thing.
But then there's more
But don't you have to
parts.
vote for the whole thing?
You could vote for the whole thing, but here's the crazy thing. So you can vote for the whole thing or Joyce's thing, and this thing could come out looking totally different than when you show up at the
Yeah.
meeting. They can amend it all over the place.
All right, so I'll retract my motion, and we can just not.
I would make a motion to abstain from this at the
Well,
conference.
hold on. First,
I'll retract my
first I got Joyce. Joyce wants to rescind, but I think the seconder has to rescind as well, right? That would be you, April.
Oh, I rescind
All
my
right.
second.
So now there's no motion at all, and we can just
Go on to
go
it.
ahead.
Okay, so I make a motion to abstain from this vote at the
Well,
conference.
yeah, you don't even have to do that. You can just, if there's no motion or second, it's like a de facto abstain. It doesn't move forward.
Well, I'm just saying for the purposes of what is the vote at the conference, for us as the.
Yeah,
because this
so
is
you
to-
have no, so the school, if we don't have a motion in a second, then the Wareham School Committee is silent on that.
Right, I'm just writing it down for my own clarification, because I'm going to be the delegate at the conference,
Yeah.
so I just want to know where we are
Yeah,
standing.
we're not for or
that,
against
so-
it, we're just silent on it.
Right, exactly.
All right, so moving on to number 3. School transportation. Do you think this could impact us
I do.
in a good way?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah. There's very few of these that get my attention, and this one did.
Okay, then I make a motion that we vote yes to support it.
Okay, is there a
Second.
okay, motion is seconded, and any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, passes 4-0-0. Moving on to 4, climate change. What do you guys think about the school committee voting on climate change?
What does this have to do with anything?
Well,
That's exactly what I wrote down.
It even says, like, somewhere, like the third paragraph from the bottom, it says, whereas Mass recognizes that climate change as a general justice and human rights issue. I mean, it's too vague and nebulous for.
But what does this have to do with educating our kids? Is it because they're not being educated on climate change, or is it because
if you
it's
read it,
very
yeah.
confusing? So I would abstain and not talk about that one either, I think.
So do we have a motion to, and either way, no motion?
One? Yeah,
No.
no.
So we're going to be silent on that one as well.
Mhm.
All right, number 5, full funding of transportation costs for students in foster care and state care. How about that one? That sounds good to us, right?
It does.
Yes,
And that comes from the state, correct?
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, make a motion to say yes to that.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Abstentions? That passes 400. All right. Number 6, universal quality pre-kindergarten access in Massachusetts.
So is this just to clarify, is this to make preschool more mandatory or just more accessible?
Well,
I'm just trying to understand it, do you know what I mean? So I don't know if Dr. Shava Hood has any input on that, as how you interpret that?
Well, I believe what they're saying is that preschool is a very valuable opportunity for third and fourth 4-year-olds. What it doesn't say is how it would be funded. And that certainly, I think we all agree that providing children that opportunity makes the world of difference. The question is the funding source.
So again, this is to petition the state for funding for more accessibility to pre-K, just so I understand it correctly?
I think it's just saying that, yes, we think that preschool is valuable.
Okay.
yeah. And I know that's what we believe. So entertain a motion to approve.
So I so moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 400. You see why we didn't want to do these as like a whole slate, you know? Number 7, poverty in children.
I think that this is something especially, district relevance here, I think plays a part, so I would make a motion to say yes to this.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion?
I would just say, I think poverty, well, yes. I mean, I'll vote yes for it, but I think at the school committee level, it kind of goes the same as climate change. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think on this one specifically, it says that the Massachusetts school committees will prioritize as a matter of public policy agenda. This is, to me, I'm reading this is for the state file for and support legislation to support, the eradication of poverty among children in Massachusetts and advocate for social and economic justice for students and their families that will include, support, whatever. So I'm looking at this like the state is going to be more involved in this, or that the Mass State School Committee is going to do what they can to get more funding for those kids, is how I'm interpreting that. So because it's, more support for pre-K, which we just said, more support for healthcare, screening, nutrition, and advocacy for their other opportunities to grow inside and outside of school, which as a district, I know that we're already doing, but if we're voting as a school committee to roll this out to other districts, I would vote yes on this.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a motion in a second? We do, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 400. On to resolution for access to menstrual supplies. Thoughts?
I mean, I vote yes. I don't know why that this should, again, be one of those common sense things where, girls especially now, I think are getting that younger and younger. So I definitely think that, having access to the supplies, this should be a no-brainer. I don't even know why we'd have to vote on this.
I make a motion to vote to approve.
Second.
Yeah, and just further discussion. I mean, just my ignorance of it. I just assumed it was being done. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, I think we should do this. So.
Agreed.
All right. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 400. I didn't anticipate that on the school committee, but okay. Charter school reform. What do we think?
I have to read this. Hold on. Does
district have any thoughts? You know, central office?
I agree with it.
Which parts?
They need to relook at how they're funding charter schools, because it seems to just go one way, their way. So students will go, they come back, they're not recognized as coming back. It's just very, it doesn't necessarily make sense to the way that they're funding it now.
So I would make a motion that we vote yes to approve this.
Yeah, I mean, so I've got, it's a whole mixed bag of stuff that's good and maybe not so much. I mean, well, you have a motion. Do we have a second?
I wrote yes to all. Yep.
A second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. So for further discussion?
What were you questioning that was a
So-
mixed bag?
So it's like, I read this for the last meeting. I'm refreshing myself on it. But there's, let's see. I want parents to have choices. I want charter schools to be an option for parents that, you know, find that their district isn't helping them and they have no other choice, you know? But yeah, the funding and such is
Yeah, it's not taking their choice away.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, and it doesn't say that they're going to cut the funding to it altogether. I think it's just, like Dr. Schwam said, reporting the accurate number of students who leave charter schools and return to the sending districts. So that's hugely important if that's affecting our school choice numbers and we're not getting the credit that they're coming back, especially when in a district like ours, school choice has been a hot button issue.
I guess no. This isn't school choice. This is charter school.
But charter school is a school
No.
choice. If a kid leaves our school and goes to a
But
charter.
it's a way separate. We get money from charter schools. The town gets money when we send kids to charter school when they leave.
No,
we get no. It's mitigated. They have the mitigation fund that's right in here.
I think they were
the town
discussing
administrator.
doing it,
If
but-
you look at his budget, that's how the Rising Tides was. One of the new charter schools in Plymouth had different numbers, and we got money back.
Oh, it was the alternative one. That was
Yeah, that
because
was
it wasn't
alternative.
up in
It was the new map. It was the
The
map.
MAP
It
Academy.
was only because their estimate was higher than the
Right,
actual enrollment.
yeah.
Yeah, they estimated 40 and only 10 went.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll probably abstain on this one, but I respect whatever you guys
Well, only
want to
because
do.
this says in it that state funding in full of any mitigation funds created to offset the loss of state funding for students who become students in charter schools. So to me, I read that as a good thing, that we're not gonna be losing that funding when we send that kid to another school.
No, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I knew this. So when kids go to charter schools, like in the first year that they go, we get X amount of funds for that kid, and then it tapers off. But we get something. We meaning like Derek, believe it or not. Like we don't. It's not Chapter 70. It's something else.
No, I believe it's the opposite. I believe we get nothing unless it's their last year, and then I think we get something, because I believe Jeff Sweat had actually mentioned something about that when he was on the committee previously about something he attended at the State House, that they were looking into that, but it wasn't yet in effect.
All right. Well, yeah, I respect whatever you guys are going to do, but I'll probably abstain just because I'm more confused now than when I started. So, all right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? That's me. That's 301. All right. So, and I think that's it, right?
No, there's an amend the mask bylaw at the bottom. Sorry, then that's the
really?
last thing.
And Board of Directors. So I did read this back 2 meetings ago.
Whereas this has to do with the Board of Directors by MASC, I don't have any, I don't know enough about them or their bylaws to say one way or the other. I'm assuming that if this was proposed by MASC members, that they know whether or not this is something worthy of amending. So again, I would probably abstain just because I don't know enough about it, not having been on the mask Board of Directors to have this as a bylaw. So I would make a motion to abstain from this as a committee.
Yeah, no, you just don't, you don't. Yeah, just
Right,
well,
so
so if I say, you know, hey, do we have a motion to approve this? If there's no motion or second, we're just silent. So do we have a motion to approve? Seeing none, it's silent. Okay, so that's it for that. All right, on to, still on reports of the school committee, recommendations from the policy review committee.
Oh, I don't even know. Let me see. So the community use of school vehicles, and I'll ask for, I'll be honest, I didn't take notes, but I'm going from memory, so if I'm wrong, correct me. I believe there wasn't any change in that one, right? The community use of.
It says no change.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I know, because I have my old ones, that's why.
So if you don't mind, just so the public understands, when did the committee meet?
It was the
Tuesday, the 8th.
The 8th.
Tuesday, the 8th. And you've got just about a full committee at this point?
I'm still looking for a minor parent.
So anyone out there looking for a minor parent? Okay, and you're meeting again when?
The first Monday in November at 5 o'clock.
Where?
Here downstairs.
228.
Room 228,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so we have the community use of school vehicles. The policy review committee is suggesting no change. Do we have a motion to approve as is?
So moved.
Second. Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0-0. Okay, next.
Okay, the meals policy and pricing, I believe that we talked about putting in that about free lunch, is that right?
Well, it says right at the bottom, October 8th, no change. Is that what you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We decided, even though we're free lunch, we were going to leave this in case we were not.
Oh, right,
and
right,
then
that's
we
right,
would-
okay.
We wouldn't have to go
Yeah.
back and
Right.
do it.
So I had just one question. It says, to the extent possible, a la carte or alternate lunch offerings will be consistent in the elementary and middle schools, including schools that rely on outside kitchens, but it doesn't mention the high school. Should we put the high school in there? Second paragraph?
We could, but right now, all our kitchens are in-house.
Oh. Okay.
That would be like back when we would take meals to West or. if we had-
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right.
The only thing that struck me about this policy is it says breakfast will be offered to all students. It doesn't say lunch and breakfast, or breakfast and lunch.
It doesn't say what?
It doesn't say breakfast and lunch will be offered, it just says breakfast.
That's
Yeah.
a good
That's a
point.
good point.
Yeah, that is a good point.
So have a motion to amend?
I so moved, I agree, because also, even though, at one point, we were actually also bringing food to the alternative school, high school, so, and the public day high school, so.
All right, so just
High school should probably be added.
so just be specific on the motion so Michelle knows.
Motion to amend the meals policy and pricing, so bring it back to the committee.
Oh, you're gonna bring it back? Yeah,
We can
okay.
change it now.
No?
We could change it now.
Okay, all right, so amend it so that say breakfast and lunch, and then also add high school in the second paragraph.
Well, do we have to add the high school like you said?
You don't have to, but
It wouldn't hurt?
it wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't
to
hurt,
cover
so,
it.
okay.
Yeah, because who
Okay.
knows, we may have another
Yeah.
program like we
Okay.
did before.
All right, so that's
Right.
the motion. Do we have a second?
So moved. Second, sorry.
Okay. Further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0-0.
All right, and then the last one is the facilities governing use of. We just wanted to change the pricing for the nonprofit, right, agencies.
Yeah, because
It-
we did the
Wait,
math.
Yeah, it was like
It was
a crazy
insane.
amount, yeah.
So what is the change? I didn't see it in the packet. I saw the policy, but I didn't see the change in the packet.
It would be $20 per day instead of $20 per hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that, Ms. Bakayaki?
Does that revert back to what it was before we made the last change, or was it something different?
No, it was just that the math was, it said
No.
per day rather than per hour, and it should have said per day.
Right, so
So it's like a clerical error, right?
is this what it said before?
You mean before we changed it the last time? I don't think so. I think the prices are still higher than.
I believe, just from having used the facility before for like filling out forms for when I was involved with the Tigers, it was an escalating price depending on how many hours you were using, either the field or the gym or things like that. And I know that organizations like, Wareham Travel Basketball and the youth organizations in town were having issues with how costly it was because it was basically taking away from their ability to run their programs with the cost it was using to use the facility. So I definitely make a motion to agree with that.
We've got on hold and we've not charged the organizations except for the sign-up fee just because it was astronomical. And we
Yeah.
couldn't do that.
And so, but with $20 per day for use of what?
The fields or the
Gym.
gym, which really it's going to bring it up about $500 more than what it's been in the past. I
Really?
think it was, for one organization.
Wow, okay. All right. That sound low? $20? Like, so when the football team plays, that one day, we're charging them $20 to like tear up the field.
Well, they don't really tear up the
Oh,
field. but
come
Not
on.
any more
Oh,
than
come
anything
on.
else. Well, the soccer team would be tearing up the field, just as any other sport that would be using
Oh, yeah,
it.
sure. All
But
right.
they also, for if it's a nonprofit, I mean, the whole point is for the community's children to be able
Able to
to
use,
be in these sports and in these organizations that help them stay on the right track or keep them from doing other things. So I think it's vital because it's our students that are using the
Yeah,
field. It's
yeah.
not like they're just random strangers coming in from somewhere else and
No, I know.
causing a ruckus. And I can say from the Tigers' point of view, we have our kids afterwards picking up trash with bags and going around and cleaning up the field afterwards, where I don't see that at the high school games. I don't see the high school kids with bags picking up the trash in the bleachers where we had, the kids picking up after each game. So we took the use of the field very seriously, that we were able to use it and didn't want to leave it in a mess.
All right. Are you still on that board?
I am not on that board. I am on this board, so.
All right.
But I just know from experience
I
of the
know,
6 years
yeah.
I was on it, the work that they put in to making sure that we didn't leave things in disarray when we used it.
Okay. All right, so do we have a motion? So I need a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
In a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 400. My agenda. All right, so any other business?
I know you,
Oh,
I can't believe I'm asking this right now because I'm very tired, but
And what-
I am
if-
going to ask it. Going back to public comment, why is it that Melissa Fay was the one that responded to that and not Jamie Andrews?
and I had the same question, but I was going to save it for later, but it's appropriate.
Well, she had said when she spoke that she said that she was copied, or they copied her on, when she filed her complaint to Desi. Desi copied Melissa on her complaint, and she said that Melissa's the one, then Melissa
But
responded.
there's a-
Hold on,
because
That's what I understood.
Time out. So the question's to the superintendent?
Yep.
Okay.
It was from George Hale, and
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the process and everything, yeah.
and Jamie did provide the information to Melissa.
But why, okay, I just don't understand why he wouldn't have written the report himself. That's all.
All right, anything else?
No.
All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes 400. Thank you.